8-year-old nurse Jean Kite is suing her son's girlfriend, 32-year-old student Gina Nelson, for the return of her Chihuahua. Gina is countersuing for emotional distress.
Order. All rise. Yes, this is case number 543 on the calendar in the matter of Kite versus Nelson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Okay. This case has to do with who ultimately is going to be the owner of and the caretaker of this little dog. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So I would like the dog outside. Miss Knight, the defendant is, or was, your son's girlfriend. Is that right?
She still is, Your Honor.
Okay. According to your complaint, some time ago, she asked you if you would be interested in taking her dog.
That's correct.
You said yes, you took the dog, and many months later, she came and took the dog back.
That's correct.
And you want the dog or some sort of compensation for the dog?
I want the dog.
Ms. Nelson says that this was never a gift to you, but merely a loaner dog, and the dog is rightfully hers. She has the papers for the dog. She merely asked you to watch the dog for a while, and she is counterclaiming because she alleges that you assaulted her when you attempted to get the dog back. Correct?
That's correct.
Okay. When and under what circumstances did you take custody of this dog?
Last May, at my son's birthday breakfast, Gina asked me if I would be willing to give her dog a home, that it was outside all the time. It wasn't getting the attention it needed.
Why was it outside all the time?
As I understand it, because she wasn't completely housebroken and they didn't like the accidents in the home.
Okay.
I said, sure, I would take her. I'm a big dog lover. Approximately 2 to 3 days later, my son brought the dog over.
How old was the dog at that time?
As I understand, almost 3. Over the months, of course, I fell in love with her. She's a darling little dog. Over the months, I allowed Gina and the children, she has 2 daughters, to come visit the dog whenever they wanted. My daughter took the dog to Gina's for a birthday party for the dog. And then February 17th, Krista, the older daughter, called asking if they could have, I call her Sissy, for a visit. I said, call me tomorrow because I'm a night worker. I was leaving for work. The next morning at 7:30, Gina called me. I said, sure, come on over. She came over. The dog was on antibiotics at that time for just having a dental exam and ointment for her ears. I gave Gina the medication and some dog food. She asked me what time I wanted her back. I said, just keep her for the night because I will go to sleep. By the time I wake up, it will be way too late. I said, please leave me your phone number. I'll call you tomorrow when I get up and around. The next day, I tried calling, and I started calling early afternoon. I wasn't getting an answer. I didn't really think too much of it. By around 5 o'clock, I still wasn't getting a machine or an answer. I called my son, who was just about ready to leave work. I said, Jason, can you go get the dog? Gina's not answering the phone. He had said they'd had a little spat and hadn't spoken for a few days. He would go get the dog. An hour or two later, he came to my front door and said, Mom, she doesn't want to give the dog back. And I said, let's go. I want to go get my dog back. So he took me down to, she had just moved into another residence. I didn't know where she lived. He took me down there. I knocked on the door. I could see she was looking through the peephole. And I said, Gina, give me back my dog. She opened the door and she said, it's my dog. I have the papers to prove it. And I'm calling the police and you're going to jail. And she pushed me out the door by my face. I grabbed her by the shirt. I saw the little girl run past. And I said, this is ridiculous. And I went out and waited for the police. I was upset. I was crying. I'm devastated over this.
Okay. Let's go back to May of last year. Tell me the conversation that you allege you had with Miss Knight with regard to taking possession of the dog.
Okay, we were moving somewhere which did not allow pets and didn't have a backyard, so I asked her if she'd be willing to take care of my dog since she had 2 little Chihuahuas of her own. And she said sure she would, and I wanted to go visit, you know, I wanted somewhere where I can still go visit her and take my children.
Where had you lived before that?
It was a 3-bedroom duplex with a backyard.
So why were you moving?
The rent was going up from $650 to $950, and I'm a single mother with 2 children. I couldn't afford it.
How long was the lease?
The lease was, what was month to month?
Go ahead.
It was understood at the time.
Don't tell me what was understood. I want to know what you said to her, what you claim you said to her, and what she said to you.
Okay, I did let her know that it was just until I moved somewhere else in the future with a backyard, and I did want my dog back. And she agreed.
Did you say when that might be?
No, I did not.
So what you're telling me is that you were planning on letting this dog live with her for a year or maybe more,
Well,
since you didn't know where you were going to be moving, and then you wanted the dog back.
Correct.
Didn't you have any concern that the dog might become attached to her and her family?
Yes, I did, but we didn't have a verbal agreement in the beginning that I could get my animal back.
That's what you claim. That's not what she says.
Right, correct.
That's what you claim. And I'm asking you the question, if you love this dog, weren't you at all concerned that if you left the dog there for 6 months or a year, that the dog would become attached to her, would have to have the separation from you and your family, and then become attached to her, and then you were going to take the dog back? Didn't you take that into consideration?
Yes, but we would go visit her. We would call her a few times a week to go see if we can see the dog. There was times where she wouldn't allow us to go visit the dog. So we saw the dog at least 2 or 3 times a month, as long as she would persist that we could.
Well, 2 or 3 times a month isn't
owning
visiting,
a dog.
isn't owning a dog and taking care of a dog 30 days a month, 24/7.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Started calling me profanities, telling me she wanted the dog back. She started pushing, trying to break in my house, assaulting me. She choked me. She tried to rip my shirt off. I had a bruise on my arm, a bruise on my leg. My daughter was hysterical. Finally, I got the door shut, and then I went and talked to the officer on the phone.
Jean Kite says her son's girlfriend, Gina Nelson, gave her a Chihuahua and then stole it back.
She took the dog in May, and tell me about February 17th.
We called to see if we can get visitations with the dog.
Yes?
I spoke with her son, Jason, about getting my dog back because I just moved somewhere with a yard, and that does allow
You
animals.
said initially you called about getting visitation.
Right.
And who did you speak to?
I spoke to Jeannie.
And what did you tell her?
Told her that we were going to come over and get the dog for visitations.
Okay.
So we went over, we picked up the dog, she did give me medication and all that, and then we brought her back home.
Mm-hmm.
I had a conversation with her son. I told him that that I wanted the dog back.
So that's after you had the dog in your possession.
Actually, that was before, and he said he wouldn't suggest
Well, you can't
it.
tell me that what you had, conversation that you had with someone who's not here. I want to know what the conversation was that you had with her. And the conversation you had with her was that you were coming to pick up the dog for a visit.
Right.
So now you have the dog in your possession. What happened?
February 19th, we took her with us all during the day, and we were not home. And she came to my door, and she knocked on my door. I looked out the peephole. I opened the door. She proceeded.
Had you gotten a message on your machine that she was calling you?
No, we just moved in, so my answer machine wasn't hooked up yet.
So nobody called you? Neither she nor her son called you and said...
Correct.
She wants the dog?
Nobody called me.
Okay,
She
but you were in fact home when she got there?
Yes, I was.
Go ahead.
So I was home, and she came up to the door, and she started yelling profanities at me and telling me that she wanted her dog back and that I was a fat B-word. And
had you already spoken to your boyfriend and told him that you weren't giving the dog back?
Yes, I did.
Of course you did, because that's why she came over.
Correct.
Now, what time did you speak to him?
6:15 p.m.
So you were home at that time?
Yes, I was.
What time had you arrived home?
5:45, 6 o'clock.
How did he get you? On the telephone? Or did
No,
he go over?
he came to the door.
So he just happened to come over just a couple of seconds after you came home?
Yes, he got off work at 6 o'clock.
So why didn't you at that point, when you knew that the plaintiff was trying to reach you, pick up the phone and call her and have a discussion with her on the phone?
Because I was shaken up from her son coming over and yelling, and I told him that I did discuss it with him before, that I was going to get the dog back, and he was telling me not to because she would get violent and out of control.
Go ahead.
And so we had a verbal agreement beforehand that I would get my dog back.
Don't tell me what your verbal agreement was. I have to make a determination if you had a verbal agreement at all.
Right.
That's my job. That's what this case is all about, whether or not there was an agreement. So far, I'm not convinced.
She knocked on the door. I looked out the peephole. saw it was her and her son. I opened the door. She started calling me profanities, telling me she wanted the dog back. She started pushing, trying to break in my house, assaulting me. She choked me. She tried to rip my shirt off. And I was pushing her with my hip, trying to get her out the door. I had my arm on the door and my leg. I had a bruise on my arm, a bruise on my leg from her trying to break into my house. My daughter was hysterical. Both my children were hysterical. She called 911, and I do have the 911 tape with me as evidence. And finally, I got the door shut. And then I went and talked to the officer on the phone, the dispatcher. And then the officer came out, and he said that it was my dog. And
No, he didn't say it was your dog. He said you had the papers.
well,
so
I
you
do
couldn't
have
take
all the
dog.
papers and the license and everything. And
What is your name?
Krista.
Krista. Come up here, Krista. I want to ask you some questions. Krista, I want you to think back. Do you remember the day that the dog came back to your house?
Yes.
Did you stay home that day when the dog was in your house?
Yeah, we stayed home, had fun with her.
Now, I want you to think back to the next day. Do you remember what time you got up in the morning?
Around 8,
And what did you do?
we got dressed and we left and we
Where did you go?
went to other stores. We
What
went,
store?
like Pack and Save.
So you got a food store?
Yes.
So you left the dog home.
No, we brought her with us.
The dog can't go in the food store.
I know, we found that out.
So you left.
Right.
And then where did you go?
We went home and dropped her off.
So you dropped the dog home, and then where did you go?
We left and we went and we visited a friend.
Well, just a minute. If you dropped the dog off at home, didn't you go back to Pack and Save?
Yeah, but my mom had to go to her friend's house real quick.
How long did you stay at your mom's friend's house?
Maybe 15 minutes and then we left.
And then where did you go from there?
Pack and Save.
And did you buy a whole lot of stuff?
Yeah. Yes.
Groceries?
Yeah.
And then I assume you went home to drop the groceries off.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Right.
Where did you have lunch?
At home.
And after you had lunch, what did you do?
We went someplace else, but I can't recall where that place was.
Well, was it
Sure.
a store or friends?
It's probably another store.
Probably, but you don't remember.
Right.
Did you buy anything?
No.
Where was the dog at that time?
She came with us. Some stores allow Precious.
Well, I know that some stores do allow them. What I'm asking you is, you took the dog with you at that time to go to a store, but you don't remember the name of the store.
Right.
And then where did you go?
We stayed out probably for a while, and then we came home around 5 maybe and had dinner.
You have a telephone in your house?
Yes. Yes.
You have caller ID on your phone? Do you have caller ID on your telephone?
Yes.
You do? That's all. Sit down.
I have some records in the vet care that I gave for this dog during the months I had her. If you'd like to look at them.
Yeah, I'll take a look at them. Okay. Where did you purchase this dog, Miss Nelson?
from the newspaper.
Was this the first dog that you had had?
Yes, it is.
And you were very attached to the dog?
Yes, I am.
And your children were very attached to the dog?
Yes.
Then can you explain to me why you chose to move into a month-to-month tenancy arrangement where you couldn't have the dog?
Because the rent, like I said, the rent was going to $950. I couldn't afford it. And I was in the process of getting Section 8, and I moved into those apartment complexes that would allow me to get on Section 8.
Did you ultimately get into Section 8 housing?
Yes, I am on Section 8, yes.
Now,
Yes, I am.
why didn't you, Miss Nelson, if you claimed that you had an agreement with the plaintiff, call her and tell her on the 17th of February or the 18th of February, I'm now in an apartment so I can have the dog back. You've been great taking care of her, but I'd like to come and get her.
I didn't want to get in an altercation because I knew she wouldn't give the dog back.
That's not evidence, Miss Nelson. So you really took the dog under false pretenses.
Yes.
So you can understand why she was angry when she came to your house. I have a problem with the way that you went about getting this dog back. Because if what you say is true, then what the plaintiff did was a real wonderful service for you. for May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, 8.5 or 9 months. She took care of your dog. You gave her no money. She took the dog to the vet. She fed the dog. She took care of the dog. And what you're saying is she did that out of the goodness of her heart because she cared for you and she was there to help you. And you deceived her. That's if I believe you. By coming, saying, we're just coming for a visit. Going to pick up the dog. Great. And then you said, now you're not getting back. You never paid for anything for this dog. Did you ever pay for board?
No, I did not. But
Did you ever pay for the vet?
neither did she. No.
I didn't ask you that. Did you ever pay for the vet?
No, I did not.
You never paid for the dog's food
No, I did not.
for 9 months?
No, I did not.
New leash, toys, anything else, or board. So if I were to believe you, she was really doing you a tremendous service. And you repaid her service by not being honest. And again, I have concern that you had no idea how long it was going to take for you to get an apartment where you could have this dog. Could have taken a month, 2 months, 3 months. As it happens, it took almost 9 months. That time, the dog is now in another environment with 2 other dogs that it's sort of bonded with. You have 2 Chihuahuas. That's
Yes.
what you said?
Yes.
Has 2 Chihuahuas, has a good time, has a good life, plays with other dogs.
Actually, when I got her back, if you look at the dog, she has sores on her side and she has sores in her ears, and they're just now getting better from being beaten up by the other dogs.
That's what dogs do when they play. Chihuahuas, I mean, she doesn't have Great Danes.
Right.
In any event, I am not satisfied, Miss Nelson, that you had an arrangement with the plaintiff that she was just going to be babysitting for your dog. And if you make an arrangement for somebody to board your dog for a period of 9 months, you make an arrangement for that person to be compensated for that. And in addition, I think that you knew that this wasn't a merely boarding arrangement because that's the reason why you went and got the dog back under circumstances that were dishonest. So, Miss Knight, you're getting your dog back. And I'm addressing your counterclaim, and based upon what I've determined during the course of this lawsuit and this pushing and shoving that took place at the door when she tried to get the dog back, I'm perfectly satisfied with your daughter's testimony that you have caller ID on your phone, that you were home a good deal of the time during the day when the plaintiff was trying to call you, that you chose not to answer the phone, that you chose not to answer the phone when your boyfriend called you, that you couldn't avoid it when he came to your house. I believe your daughter has been what you tried to coach her sufficiently, but she could not withstand some questions that went, I believe, to the heart of the matter, which was you avoided the plaintiff all during the day in hoping that the situation would go away, so you provoked a situation where she had to come to your house. So your counterclaim is dismissed and the dog is awarded to the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you, Judge Judy.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She gave me this dog and then stole it back, and Judge Judy's the greatest thought through her.
She assaulted me and she got away with it.
I feel like I'm gonna die because I've had her ever since she was a baby and I don't want to lose her.
She'll never get married again.
Really, tortured with her being gone, and we're not gonna have our dog.
I love this little dog. I had her for almost 9 months.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McCall versus Wilhelm. Step forward, please.
71-year-old Bourbon McCall is suing his former friend, 32-year-old student Sandra Wilhelm, for unpaid loans and the cost of a car. Sandra says Bourbon's lawsuit is an attempt to keep her in his life.
Mr. McCall, it is your claim in this complaint that you were romantically involved with the defendant and made a series of loans to her, including a car.
Yes, ma'am.
Then she broke it off, and you want your money back.
Yes, Your Honor.
When and where did you meet Mr. McCall?
I met Sandra at a local pub that we both frequented
Okay. When?
sometime in March, Your Honor.
And when did you make this first loan?
Well, the first thing that happened, I had bought a computer, and Sandra agreed to come over and download it for me. Then she'd had an accident, and she had picked up a DUI, and her car was wrecked. So I then called her and asked her if I could be of any help to her. She said, well, my mother's got a car, that 88 Crown Victoria. Her mother was asking $2,300 for the car. I gave Sandra $2,300. We went in. She gave us the title. We then proceeded to go down and get it plated and titled.
Did you expect Miss Wilhelm to pay you back the money?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Did you ever tell her that?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Shh, quiet. When did you tell her that?
I told her that before we bought the car. I said,
What did you say?
I said, if we buy a car, I'll help you get a car. But I said, I want title to that car. She said, well, how am I going to get plates and insurance and the rest of it? Why don't we just purchase a vehicle? You'll have the first lien on the vehicle so that I'm protected.
Well, the truth of the matter is, you really are not terribly protected. All you are, if you had title to the car, is you're exposed in case she has an accident, in case she doesn't get insurance.
Well, she did that.
I know, but that's a problem. Miss Wilhelm, first of all, how old are you?
32.
How old are you, sir?
71.
Okay. Miss Wilhelm, this, whatever kind of relationship you had with the plaintiff was of relatively short duration. I read your answer very clearly, and your answer says that he clearly wanted more from the relationship than you were prepared to give him.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Can I see the title to the car, please?
Yes.
Who has
I
the
just have a
title?
certificate of title.
I'd like to see it, please.
Here's a copy of the title.
And I'd like to see the certificate of
This is Exhibit B and C showing the registration and the application.
I just want the title to the car.
He has the title.
This is a copy. Who has
Yeah.
the original?
I have the original at home. I just made a copy of it, Your Honor.
Well, that wasn't very smart, sir.
Well, I'm not...
That wasn't very smart because I read the defendant's answer very clearly. She says, Bervin's goal was to control me. When I didn't respond to his advances, he became increasingly hostile. Is that true?
That is correct.
It's not true.
Eventually, I told him that he could have the car back because it's not worth the harassment. That's what you wrote. Is that what you wrote?
Yes.
Good. Sign the title over to him. Sign it over. Now,
He has the title.
you're going to sign the copy. We'll conform it. Show where to sign, Bird, would you please? You're getting good at that.
He told me he didn't want the car, Your Honor.
Sign the title over to him.
Signature of seller. And print your name.
Now, give it to him, please. Thank you, Bird. Perfect. Now, let's get to the second part of your lawsuit is you made a series of loans to the defendant. When did they start?
Started after we had purchased the automobile.
That's not true.
She just needed money time after time, and I felt like we were committed enough. We'd already committed that we would go to Texas once she got through her ordeal, and that she would move with me, take the kids. She wanted out of Indiana, so did I.
She's 40 years your junior.
Yes, I know, Your Honor.
Very foolish.
Yes, Your Honor.
Very foolish. Do you have a promissory note, sir?
No, Your Honor.
You gave her money for a lawyer.
Yes,
How much money did you give her for a lawyer?
$500.
That's not true.
You gave her money to pay her mortgage.
$500.
Did you ever get a note from her for any of those things?
No, Your Honor, I was too involved.
Well, you were too involved, and that's what you get when you're too involved,
That's
sir.
right.
You don't get paid for that.
That's right.
That's stupidity.
Well, I said that to myself.
Well, if you said it to yourself, unfortunately, you got to listen to me say it to you again.
That's okay.
So this was a lesson that cost you perhaps a couple of $1,000s. Miss Wilhelm says that you never gave her any money, I assume. Is that right?
That's correct.
Never gave you any money?
No.
I don't know whether I believe you that he never gave you any money. I sort of think he probably did. In any event, you knew each other for a total of maybe 8 weeks. In the 8 weeks, the plaintiff is out a substantial amount of money. I can't get you back all the money that you were out, sir, because I really feel as if you didn't have a contract with her with regard to these cash loans that you made to her, cash gifts that you made to her. But clearly it was your intention to have a hold on the car, which was the largest amount of money that you turned over to the plaintiff, by having your name placed as a lien holder on the car. That is some evidence of a debt. That is why you got your car back. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Rest of your claim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Basically, is trying to make a relationship.
She was claiming what was not true.
I thought them being 40 years my senior that it would be totally harmless.
She was unwilling to settle it outside the door.
He told me he was not interested in the car.
I did have proof that I had interest in the car.
We basically wanted to go ahead and keep that as leverage to keep things ongoing in a manner which I couldn't accept.
Elizabeth Ellison is suing her neighbor, 25-year-old telemarketer Cynthia West, for stealing her dog. Cynthia is countersuing, claiming Elizabeth filed a false report with Child Services.
Order. All rise. Guys, this is case number 56 on the calendar in the matter of Ellison versus West. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Ellison, you and Miss West were friends.
Yes.
Your complaint states that you had an argument over something.
The children.
And subsequently you were receiving some harassing calls. You decided that you needed some protection, so you got a dog.
Yes.
It is your claim that the defendant, in retaliation for something, enticed the dog onto her property and subsequently adopted the dog. You want the dog returned to you?
Correct.
Or its value?
Yes.
Okay. How long have you lived in the same neighborhood?
About 1.5 years, 2 years.
Is that how you know her, from the neighborhood?
Yes.
When did you get the dog?
The 15th of March.
Where did you get the dog?
I used to be a dog groomer by trade, and one of my former customers asked me to take her because her daughter had very severe allergies. I had to get rid of the animals, unfortunately.
What kind of dog is it?
She's a Dalmatian Black Lab mix.
She's a mutt.
Yes.
So you took the dog?
Yes.
Didn't pay for the dog, but you
No,
took
ma'am.
the dog. Where did you put the dog when you brought the dog home?
We tied the dog outside in the front because we were having a lot of harassment problems.
Is it a fenced yard?
Not in the front, no.
What was she tied with?
She was tied with a brand new chain and collar and that we bought her before we bought.
Did the dog have a license on the collar?
No.
So that there was no identifying mark on the collar?
No.
What time did you come home from picking up the dog?
About 5:30, 6 o'clock.
And what time did you find the dog missing?
I didn't put her out until about 9:30.
At 9:30 you found the dog missing?
Yes.
What did you do?
First, we went out searching for her all over the neighborhood. And my husband said, she's probably down at Cindy's. At first, I didn't think Cindy would, go that low, but she did. And we made signs, and we put the signs out early the next morning. My husband...
Where did you put out the signs?
On the telephone poles, one being right beside her home, and another one down the street, and all up and down Galbraith Road, which is the off street from where we go to.
Okay.
I called the SPCA, who had told me that the dog wasn't there yet. I have a lost dog report where I filed the lost dog report that morning.
I'd like to see it, please.
I also got a copy of the sheltered animal report. When I went to go to the SPCA on the first day, the very next morning at 10 o'clock, the animal was not there yet. It wasn't until 1:35 until the animal was picked up by Cindy. She called the SPCA.
Sure, we'll get to her in a second. Okay, now how did you find out the dog was with Miss West?
My daughter went to a local pharmacy around the corner from where we live, which views the backyard of Mrs. West's home. She came in crying, saying that Lacey was in Cindy's backyard. So we went back in the back alley.
When was this? How many days
that
later?
was a week. It was on the 28th.
Okay.
I said, okay, let's go make sure, Ripley. I said, because, we want to make sure before we call the police.
Okay, so the answer is, was your dog, and did you call the police?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
Called the police, you went to her home with the police?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
And she showed the police the adoption papers because she had since adopted this dog?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. West, when did you find this dog?
On the evening of the 15th, it had to be about 11:30 at night. It was running freely through the neighborhood. I have a videotape where this dog ran, in an hour and 15 minutes, it ran 17 times through my yard.
Why would you videotape this dog?
I have a security camera on my house because this woman continually harasses me.
Is it on all the time?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And I called the SPCA. It was running out in the street, back and forth in the yard. And I opened the door and I said, "Hey, puppy," and the dog walked right in my house. Then, I believe it was Monday, I had called to see if the owner had claimed the dog, and they said that no one had called for the dog, and I went down to see her. Owner has 5 days to claim. I waited 6, and then I went with my son and adopted the dog.
Did you see any signs that Miss Ellison put up in your neighborhood?
No, that's a complete lie.
You didn't see? No,
No.
I don't know whether it's a complete
Well,
lie or
I didn't
not.
see any.
The answer is you did not see
No,
any
I didn't see
signs.
any.
Okay. Now let's get to your counterclaim for a minute.
Okay.
Your counterclaim is that the plaintiff vindictively called Protective Services, uncross your arms, called Protective Services and said things about you with regard to your children, causing your children to be removed from your custody for over 3 weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so I'd like you to tell me about that because that's your counterclaim.
Yes. In the period when we were friends, there were several times that she stipulated to me that no matter what happened, not to call 241 Kids because she runs a very filthy household. And so we had agreed to that. If we hadn't, I'd have called Children's Services before she did. But I give my word,
I don't want to
stick
hear
it.
you. Go ahead.
On March 1st, Children's Services knocked on my door claiming that they had got a report for a filthy house. Supposedly there was garbage in my house up to here, that I beat my kids, that I didn't feed my kids, and several other allegations.
Okay.
And my children were removed from me until there was a parental screening done.
Just a second. That's not what Protective Services does. They don't come in, remove children for 3 weeks while they do an investigation. When they receive a report, they come in and they say, can we come into your house? And they come in and they make certain observations. So if they came into your house, they must have found your house filthy.
No.
Did they speak to your children?
Yes.
And it was at that time that they removed the children?
My children weren't actually...
Answer. Was it at that time that they removed the children?
They were placed under a safety agreement.
Okay. So they allowed the children to remain in your home under an agreement with you. Is that right?
No.
With whom?
My children were not allowed to be left alone with me whatsoever. I either had to have someone stay with me or they had to go to my mother's.
Okay. So they were allowed to stay with you if there was someone else in the house. And that was after they spoke to the children?
It was...
After they spoke to the children?
No.
Wrong.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Elizabeth Ellison says neighbor Cynthia West stole her dog in retaliation for calling child services. Cynthia is countersuing for defamation of character.
When was the agreement entered into that you would not be left unsupervised with your children?
On March 1st.
So this is before the dog disappeared? Was there an investigation?
Was there an investigation?
That's my question.
Yes, I have an open case.
So your case was not marked unfounded. It is still an open case.
I can explain to you why.
Just answer my question.
Okay, yes.
The case was not marked unfounded, which means that there was no merit to the claims. It was an open case, which means it's still outstanding and subject to investigation.
It'll be closed the end of this month.
Who knows?
I do.
Do you have any reports from social services
That's confidential information. It would have to be subpoenaed.
so that you don't have them?
Exactly.
Do you have any initial reports that were furnished from social services?
Those are not public information.
Okay. Is this the first time that social services has visited your home?
Oh, yes.
The first time?
First. Very first.
Why would you and the defendant talk about not calling social services? I mean, I've had lots of friends in my life. One of the things that we certainly never talked about was never calling social services about how we are as parents. We talked about a lot of other things. We complained about our husbands, the local market, but we never had a discussion about social services. Why would you have an agreement with her not to call social services, Miss West?
That was a stipulation that she set down, not I.
No, it was a stipulation you sat down by
Now I'll
being
get
a
you just a
drug
second.
head.
Miss Ellison, you interrupted again, but I'm going to come
I'm
back to you
sorry.
for a second. I'm not going to ask you whether or not you placed this call.
It's an anonymous hotline.
It was because it's an anonymous hotline, so I'm not going to ask you whether you did or not. But it is your belief that because she thought that you placed this call, she retaliated by taking the dog.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I have proof she took the dog.
Let me see.
This is a Coleraine Township Police Department police report. If you would read it, you would see at the bottom, it states that she admitted taking my dog.
Let me see.
And she also knew it was my dog. She told him when she got there.
Just
when
a
he
second.
got
Don't
there.
tell me what she told him. I'm looking at her.
Sure you don't have a copy of that?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to give both of you 1, 2, 3, then you're out of here. Do you understand?
Yes.
Did social services come to visit your house?
Yes, ma'am. I have a copy of my
Can I see it, please?
Human resource.
Because I see that after she believed you called
you can
on
also,
her.
Yes, she did.
She
called on
you.
me.
All right.
May I comment?
Sure.
I did not make that call. I'm not the only person that knows she runs a filthy house.
Okay. All I can tell you is she has this document here, which you clearly do not have, which indicates that her case was immediately closed.
They made a surprise visit, just like her. Sorry.
I like to conduct a very orderly place. Clean, neat, and orderly.
Go ahead.
You don't have this, that your case was closed. Is that right?
No, because my case is still ongoing. Would you like for me to answer that why? You had asked me that before.
Sure.
The reason my case is ongoing, part of the social interaction with her and I, we'd smoked marijuana together. I was a recreational user. She
That's
gets high
a lie,
all
Judge.
day,
I don't want to
every day.
hear.
That's what.
Shh, shh. Listen to me. Case closed. Case still open. That's the objective fact.
Because I admitted to my recreational use is the only reason I have an open case.
Because they caught you at the door, you and that Nicole, your
listen.
witness, smoking a joint.
Listen to me.
And you know what
Don't-
happens in my house, huh?
What? You don't understand? You're going to both be out of here. Well, Miss West, police officer attributes the following to you. She stated that Miss Ellison had her kids taken away, but all she did was take away her dog, Miss Ellison's dog. So she, quote, went pretty light on her. That's what you told the police.
Can I respond?
Yeah, the police don't lie.
Well, no, I'm not going to lie.
Shh. You don't get it. Yes, I'm waiting for you to respond.
Okay. This was after she had come to my backyard and was cussing and hollering that I had her dog. That was the first point at which I was aware that this dog had previously belonged to her. And I did tell them that, but like I said, it was after that she had pointed out to me, you have my dog, and a few other explicit words mixed in there. But she had pointed that out to me. So at that point, I did know that it was her dog. But that was the first time that I had knowledge of that.
Who knows? Okay.
Nobody tapes a dog in a video yard.
Listen to me. Listen to me. I want you to be quiet.
Okay, you're right. I'm sorry.
I have several things to consider. Right now, the dog has been with you for quite some time. Dog is integrated into your household?
Yes.
And you, I assume, take good care of this dog?
Yes.
Good.
No.
I don't want to hear from you yet. I'm primarily concerned about the dog, the children involved. Right now, she is the legal owner of that dog, and your lawsuit wants either the return of the dog or the value thereof, which you place at $500. Quiet. That's what your lawsuit says.
The lawsuit is for, the $500 is for harassment. We would like to have the dog back. That's all we've ever wanted.
What I'm telling you is she is now the legal owner of this dog, and I have to make a judgment as to how I'm going to resolve your lawsuit. I believe that there is a substantial possibility that Miss West did, in fact, come to your property, unchain the dog, and take the dog. That is a possibility. It is also a possibility that the dog got free.
I agree.
And was, in fact, roaming around. What she did was she did not secrete the dog. She brought the dog to the ASPCA immediately. You had an obligation to be vigilant and you could go to the ASPCA every day to see if the dog was there. The dog, I'm
called
speaking.
every day.
I don't care, call. I'm speaking. You had an opportunity to go to the ASPCA every day for day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look for your dog. You did not do that. So put your hand down. So since the dog has been in her custody, you had an opportunity to go and pick up your dog. You did not do that. She did not hide the dog. And there is, again, that possibility that your dog did, in fact, get out. Just get out. She probably knew it was your dog. Not sure, but I don't indulge myself in potentials or possibilities. I'm speaking. So I am awarding you $500. Even though you did not pay for this dog, I believe that Miss West knew or should have known that this was your dog and that there was a bit of retaliation in her keeping the dog and not calling you and letting you know that she had found the dog, and that there was something sneaky about the way she went about going there and legally adopting the dog. But she has legally adopted the dog. The dog is hers. It has been with her and her family for a long time. Okay. Now, Miss West, I'm going to get to your counterclaim, which I am dismissing. What state do you live in?
Ohio.
The state of Ohio does not remove children from their home without cause for 3 weeks without taking a parent to court. Period. End of discussion. No state does that. The state may say, I'm going to give you a warning, clean up your house, but if the state of Ohio is still part of this union, there are certain due process rights that you have. And if your children were removed from your home, as you state in your claim, as a result of what is an anonymous call, and it may well have been Miss Ellison who called, may well have been, but it doesn't make any difference. She did not remove the children from your home. The state removed the children from your home, which means that they found some cause to remove the children from your home. Since you do not have the paperwork to show me what the cause was, I have to assume.
I do have. I do have.
Well, you do have now. Swell.
I do have the paper for the safety agreement. I do not have the letter that she has. I left that at home.
I don't want to hear the letter for the safety agreement. I want a report from the state indicating why they removed the children from your home.
This is what this is.
Well, I'll take a look at it. That doesn't look like... I don't want to hear from you. You're finished.
Okay, no problem.
Well, they clearly found you using drugs.
I admitted to it. They asked me the
Whether you
question.
admitted to it or they found it. One of the stipulations was adults will refrain from all illegal drug use in the home. Who else lives in the home other than you and your 2 children?
My husband. Nicole's staying with us right now.
Excuse me?
Nicole Lake, this lady right here. Her mother left and went to Florida, so she's staying with me.
She was the one
so
they
she's
found
gonna stay.
doing drugs.
Shh. Don't want to hear you. What are you showing me? I read this already.
In the highlight, it shows that Miss Ellison admitted to being the one who called 241.
What difference does it make? The police had cause. The police had cause to remove your children. They either saw or you admitted to using drug use. And listen to me, Miss West, I'm not stupid. If the authorities came to your home and found nothing untoward in your home, found you perfectly straight,
they did.
Making matzo ball soup in your kitchen, right? And you just volunteered to them that you used drugs, volunteered to them, you must think that I was born 2 days ago. That's not what happens. They had evidence. They either found you in a condition of being under the influence, they smelled something in your home, they found something in your home, something happened, and then you admitted that you used drugs. But a normal person doesn't invite authorities into their home and say to them, let me tell you everything. Sometimes my house isn't neat and sometimes my kids' clothes aren't clean, but the worst thing that I do is use drugs. We understand each other. Your counterclaims dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's
Thank
all.
you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't understand how I knew the dog was...
20-year-old Matthew Bates is suing his ex-fiancée, 21-year-old nanny Sarah Fisher, for 7 months of unpaid rent. Sarah claims Matthew promised to take care of her.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Quiet in the courtroom. Thank you. Yeah, this is case number 66 on the calendar in the matter of Bates versus Fisher.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Mr. Bates, according to what I've read, you met the defendant at a time when she was 2 months pregnant. Is that right?
That's true.
And you and the defendant, shortly thereafter, moved in together. I believe you were living in your father's home.
Yes.
And it is your claim that during the 7 months that you lived together, there was an agreement that the defendant...
And his daughter, 19-year-old Jennifer, are suing Jennifer's ex-boyfriend, 18-year-old student Andy Kunkel, for kicking her car. Andy says Jennifer took his guitar.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 130 on the calendar in the matter of Lindstrom versus Kunkel. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
You are Mr. Lindstrom?
Correct.
You weren't there during the course of this argument that resulted in damage to a car that you own, that your daughter was driving. Is that right?
That's correct.
So you can have a seat. Ms. Lindstrom, the defendant was your boyfriend. I gather from your papers that you are in the process of breaking up with him. You decided to go over to his house. There was an argument. You decided to take some of your belongings. And an argument ensued, and the argument, I gather, was over a guitar that you were taking with you. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And the argument extended outside and resulted in your father's car getting dented.
Yes.
You say the defendant caused those dents to the car. Okay, so let's start. When was this argument?
April 5th.
of this year.
Yes.
Now, when you went over to his apartment, had you already broken up?
It was actually his parents' house, and no, we hadn't.
So you went over there for the purpose of what?
Just to hang out.
And you got into an argument?
Yes.
About what?
Nothing in particular. We were just getting on each other's nerves.
So what did you do?
He asked me to leave, and I said I would leave if I could have my personal belongings back, because we assumed we would never be speaking to each other after that point.
And what personal belongings were you going to take?
I had a guitar, a VCR, and a Sony PlayStation, but at that point I was most concerned about the guitar because I still owed money on it.
Tell me about the guitar.
It's a $650 guitar I purchased from a store. I purchased it on a payment plan in which I still owed 2 more payments on.
Who plays the guitar?
Andy plays the guitar.
So you gave the guitar to him?
I bought it with the assumption that he would eventually pay me back for it.
You don't buy something under the assumption. When did you give him the guitar?
The day we bought it.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding you buying the guitar.
We went to a store. We both picked out a guitar that we both liked. I actually traded in a guitar that I owned and paid the remainder of the money that was owed with a check. And there's 2 other checks that were going to be cashed at later dates to make up the remaining payment.
How did you get the guitar, sir?
She gave it to me and I brought it over to my house, and I'd been playing it for a couple of months.
What do you mean she gave it to you?
When we moved out of our apartment, she gave the guitar to me and said I could take it to my house.
And said you could take it to your house?
Yes.
Well, did she give it to you as a gift, or did she purchase it to share it?
I asked her to buy it for me as a gift and told her I would pay her back if she wanted me to, and that's what I assumed was going on.
You said 2 different things. You said she bought it for you as a gift, and you said you would pay her back.
The gift part of it was that she was going to pay for half of it and I was going to pay for the other half. That was like the original agreement we had when we went into the store to buy the guitar.
Is that right?
Considering that I had given the guitar store my guitar that I had owned previously, that was the part I was paying for.
Is that right?
Yes.
Fine. So how much money was invested in the guitar?
Probably $450.
That you paid for?
Yes.
Okay. And the agreement was he was to pay you back for that?
Yes.
But he was going to keep the guitar?
Yes.
Did you make any payments to her?
I hadn't at the time that she came over. It was a little while after we'd moved out of our apartment, and the fight just happened, and she took the guitar, and I wanted it back.
Why hadn't you made any payments on it?
I hadn't gotten paid from work yet, so I didn't have any money.
So, Miss Lindstrom, based on your contract, you gave him the guitar.
Yes.
He was to make payments on it. So you had no right to take it from the house.
He hadn't made any payment on it.
You didn't have any time frame for the payments. Is that right?
Correct.
So you had no right to take the guitar. It could have been a lawsuit. You could have sued him for the $450. But the guitar was, in fact, his guitar. You understand that? If you didn't, I'm explaining it to you now. You may have still owed money on the guitar, but your agreement was he keeps the guitar, he gives you $450 at some time. That's a lawsuit. That means that if you went there to retrieve your property, he says, I'm keeping the guitar, fine, you still owe me $450, you go to small claims court, you sue him for $450, and if that's your agreement, which he says it was, you get your $450. So you had no right to take the guitar. So you went into the house, you took the guitar, and what happened?
He tried to get me to leave by using force. At one point, he was on top of me on the bed and was choking my neck.
Why didn't you leave when he told you to leave?
Because I wanted to take my things with me first.
The most important thing you said you were interested in taking was the guitar.
That's right.
Which I've already explained to you had no right to take. Okay, so what happened next?
I got a hold of the guitar and he said, fine, if you take it outside, I'm just going to follow you and take it back from you. So I went outside and he grabbed it from me. And I tried to go after him, but he pushed me down. And I got up and he pushed me down 3 more times. And then he turned around to go back into the house, and I grabbed a hold of his back. And he said, Jenny, if you don't let go of my back, I'm going to hit you over the head with the guitar.
So you grabbed hold of his back, which means that you were sort of piggyback, is that right?
Yes.
So your feet were off the ground.
Yes.
And you were holding on to him.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And after he said that, he laid me back down onto the hood of the car. So that
he laid you back down so that you would get off him.
Right.
Go ahead.
And then he got up
off of me, and I got up and grabbed the guitar. And I ran around to the other side of the car, to the driver's side. And I got inside. I put the guitar and got inside the car. I shut the doors. I locked them. He looked really upset because I was in my car. There's nothing else he could do. At this point, he kicked off the passenger mirror of my car and then proceeded to kick the front passenger door and the back passenger door a few times. And then he went inside and his mother came out and asked if I was okay.
Do you have photographs of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them, please.
Right there.
Sorry.
Is this a picture of the hood of the car?
Yes.
Is there a dent in the hood of the car?
There are several small dents. The picture doesn't really show.
Is that from when you fell on the car that you pay for?
Okay.
Let me hear your version of the events.
What happened was she came over to my house and we were just watching TV, and I asked her to leave several times over and over again. The only force I used to try and get her out of the house was I picked her up and carried her, and I got her outside finally to leave, and she took my guitar with her, so I went and got it back, and she continued to jump at me, try and get it back. She jumped on my back. I pushed her onto the hood of the car because I wanted her off my back. I don't know if I kicked the car during the struggle on accident because she kept attacking me, but...
The hood is during the course of the struggle. The kicks to the car aren't during the course of the struggle.
No, the struggle happened all around the car in my front yard. He was the only other person there that saw it. My mom didn't even come outside till afterwards.
Were you there all the time?
Yes.
Step up.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 19-year-old Jennifer Lindstrom says ex-boyfriend Andy Kunkel owes for an assault and for kicking her car.
Tell me your name.
Tony Vaitkunis.
Tell me what you saw, sir.
I came over, I guess they had been fighting. I came over right when they went outside, and they were running around the car, shouting at each other, and she jumped up on his back, and I saw when he later on the hood of the car. I did not see him kick the car. I don't know anything about that. That came up when Andy got the papers that they were suing him. The fight was pretty much Andy saying, give me my guitar back, and her saying no, and him saying, get away from me, and her running after him and wouldn't just leave.
Okay, let me see the estimates for the car, please. All right, we're eliminating the hood. Do you know why we're eliminating the hood?
I know why you think it should be eliminated, yes.
You jumped on his back. He had to get you off his back.
Not
What do you want him to
throw
do,
me
hit
on
you in
the-
the head with the guitar?
No.
Okay. So?
But would that have been my fault, too, if he hit me on the head with the guitar?
Absolutely. He was stealing his guitar. Listen to me. The law doesn't take emotions into account. The law says it's his house. He asked you to leave. You didn't want to leave. He finally told you to leave. You finally said you would leave, and you took his property. Now, he has a right to get his property back. You want to say something?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
He was not, that was his mother's house. He was not living there at the time, so
Yes, I was.
for him to say that he was not living at the home is incorrect.
Now, living at what home?
In his mother's home. He was not living there.
Well, his property was there. And he, as opposed to your daughter, at the time that she was told to leave by someone who has presumptive authority to be in the home, once she comes in with permission, but when she's told to leave, then it becomes a trespass if she doesn't leave. But your daughter had no right to take this guitar. The guitar had been given to the defendant. The fact that he owed her money is handled in a civil way. That's the way we resolve disputes in this country. She walks out the door, she gets into her car, she may be furious, but she gets into the car, and she says, I'm going to sue him for the $450 because that's what he owes me for the guitar. And he promised he would pay me back for the guitar.
Can I say something, ma'am?
Yes.
It was my belief that it would not become his guitar until he paid me back for it.
What your belief is irrelevant unless there is an agreement. And I guarantee you that when this guitar was purchased, you did not say to him, you may have physical possession of the guitar, but the guitar does not become yours legally until you pay me the money. You didn't say that to him, did you?
I said something similar, yes.
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. That's not what a boyfriend and a girlfriend say to each other. It's not what even friends say to each other. They say, you'll pay me back? You know, I'm going to lay this out, but you'll pay me back for it? Yes, I will. That's it. So, the fact that he had to get you off his back and you dented the hood of your dad's car, you have to be responsible for that. But I find that you did, in fact, kick this car. You were angry because she had your guitar in the car, and you were angry.
She didn't have it in the car until she drove off.
Yes, and that's when she says you kicked the car.
No, because she didn't drive off until after my mom came outside, and when my mother came outside, I went back in the house.
Before your mother came outside, you kicked the car. Clearly, this car was kicked. This is not just pushing somebody against the side door. There's a difference between the side door of the car and the hood of the car.
I didn't say that I pushed her into it. I said during the struggle it might have accidentally happened.
Could have happened. I find that it didn't. And he probably should have let her, just on an emotional basis, let her take the guitar and go and sue for it later. If you feel as if it was yours, then you would have sued her, and she would have said, we had an agreement. When he gives me the $450, you can have the guitar. Right?
Yes.
So somebody's got to pay for this man's car. His daughter's going to pay for part of it, for the hood of the car, but you're going to pay for the sides, which comes to $957, judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it was fine. I think she was fair in what the decision was.
The judge made some valid points, but that it was...
24-year-old clerk Mary Caldwell is suing her ex-girlfriend, 24-year-old plumber Janet Madrid, for an unpaid loan to buy a car.
Ms. Caldwell, you and the defendant were living together. You were in a relationship when you claim you made a loan to her to purchase a car for the down payment. Is that right?
Correct.
And according to you, the car down payment was $2,500. She made one payment of $200 to you and has failed to pay the rest. You want your money back?
Yes, correct.
The defendant says there was never a loan. When was the car purchased?
July of 2000.
How long had you been living together prior to that?
Over a year.
Now, as part of the defendant's response to your complaint, she says that a year before that, you had wanted to purchase a car, and she sold a couple of motorcycles that she had. Is that right?
Yes.
And gave you the money to put down on a car that you wanted to buy. Is that true?
Yes.
How much did she give you?
I don't have an amount for you. I'm sorry.
Did you ever pay her back?
No.
You are living together at this time in a relationship as a family. Is that right?
Correct, at the time.
And am I also correct that this car that she purchased was put in both of your names?
Correct. For the reason that she didn't have a driver's license, she was unable to drive.
All right. Now tell me the circumstances surrounding this alleged loan, Ms. Caldwell.
We were in a relationship. It was falling out at the time, but she asked me to loan her the money, in which I
What
loaned
did she
her.
say?
She said, I want to get a car, and I told her, okay, that's fine. I had the money on me. I said, well, it needs to be a loan. Do you understand that? And she said, yes. At that time, we went shopping around for a car. She chose the vehicle that she wanted. I made the down payment on it. She told me that she was going to pay me back. It was a verbal agreement between the both of us.
That sounds all pretty pat. All right, Miss Madrid, let me hear your version of it.
I never told her that I want to borrow the
No,
money.
I want you to tell me step by step. Don't tell me what you never told her.
We both said that we need a car.
Why? You already had a car.
No, because the car that she bought before this car had got repoed because she couldn't make the car payment on it.
Oh, you didn't tell me that. You didn't tell me that.
Sorry.
When had it gotten repossessed?
Maybe about 2 to 3 months before we bought this other car. And I was paying the last couple payments on that car because she couldn't pay for it. She lost her job. And so I said, I want to go get a car. And she's like, okay, yeah, we do need a car. And she had just got a settlement from an accident. And she's like, well, I have the down payment for the car. And I was like, okay, fine. I thought it was just like me giving her the down payment for her car. I thought it was an even swap.
Well, even swap. You said you gave her $800. This is $2,500.
Yeah, well, our whole relationship, you know, she never paid bills. I paid all the bills. She never paid rent, nothing. I supported her.
Your
She
Honor.
didn't have a job. She didn't have a job. Anytime she needed money, okay, here, Mary, here's some money. So I took the loan out on the car to finance the rest of the car, and I've been paying on it ever since.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. In February of 2001, you gave her $200. What was that for?
It was probably for insurance or something.
Your Honor, that is not true.
Because insurance was in her name.
Yes, the insurance was under my name because she didn't have a license. How was the insurance going to be under her name if she didn't have a license?
I asked you a question.
Yes.
Do you work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I do clerical.
Where? For whom?
For a hospital.
Which hospital?
It's actually called Medical Group.
How long have you been working there?
About 5 months.
prior to that, where were you working?
Prior to that, I was working at a temporary agency.
So you weren't working regularly prior to that?
Correct.
Okay. Tell me about this alleged $200 payment.
When she was kicking me out of the house, she told me that she wanted all my stuff out of the house. I said, okay, that's fine. I'm moving all my stuff out of the house. She
What
told
day
me
was that?
maybe February, in the middle of February. So right around our supposedly anniversary is when it happened.
Well, tell me about it.
I asked her for money to give me some kind of repayment on the loan. She told me, okay, here's $200. She wrote me a check.
You have a copy of that check?
Mm-hmm.
Can I see it? Looks like she gave you money pretty regularly. What'd she give you money for pretty regularly?
Mainly to pay the bills.
No, she's got things here for the gas company. Pacific Bell? Here's one for $100 to you. On the bottom it says Janet's stuff. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Mary Caldwell, that's you, another $100. Mary Caldwell, $160. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a plumber.
Work full-time?
Yes.
All right, Miss Caldwell, let me tell you what I think, madam. What I think is that the two of you were living in a relationship as a family. And when the year before you wanted to buy a car, she gave you some money. And when the following year she wanted to buy a car and you had some extra money, you said, I'll put down the down payment, you make the payments, because you weren't working. You were working as a temp. And you were all living as a family. And now that you're not living as a family anymore, you say this was a loan. I don't believe you. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I didn't get to fully explain myself.
Well, I think the judge was fair.
I guess it was my fault because I didn't speak up enough.
And I had to get out of there.
She said she didn't owe me.
For Acetella is suing her ex-boyfriend's ex-wife, 40-year-old roofing assistant Paula Heyer, for ransacking her home and stealing her belongings.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 172 on the calendar in the matter of Acetella versus Heyer.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, huh?
Miss Acetella, you had a boyfriend with whom you lived for about 9 years, according to your complaint. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
What was his name?
Leo McCullum.
And you used to be married to Mr. McCullum. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
When were you divorced from Mr. McCullum?
In 92.
And you have children with Mr. McCullum?
Yes, I do.
How many children do you have?
I have 4 of my own natural children and 1 that I raised from his previous marriage.
Did Mr. McCullum ever have custody of his children?
Yes, at one time, yes.
When he was living with the plaintiff?
Yes, part of the time. Since 96, he had custody.
Which child or children lived with you?
Danielle, Samantha, and Joanna.
So 3 of the girls lived with you. Now, according to your complaint, Mr. McCullum attempted to murder you by pouring lighter fluid on you and setting you on fire. Mr. McCullum is currently incarcerated, serving a term of 30 years to life. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
How long were you hospitalized?
A total of 4 months.
While you were in the hospital, it is your claim that the defendant came to the home that you had shared with Mr. McCullum and took all of the property out of the house.
Yes, ma'am.
When you returned home, there was very little there.
I never returned.
Did you ever go back to see what was in the house?
No, ma'am.
Well, how do you know she took your property?
This is my witness. I'd like for her to come up, please.
Okay, well, we may not even have to get to your witness. Mrs. McCullum says that all the property that was in that house belonged to her former husband, and she was entitled to take it. Is that right?
No, Your Honor. I never took anything from the house other than my children's belongings. And I have my daughter, Danielle, who lived at the house at the time that this terrible thing happened. And she can verify as to what Mrs.
So it's your position that you took nothing from the house except your children's clothing?
That's right.
Okay, now I'll hear your witness. Would you step up, please? Tell me your name.
Terry Way.
Miss Way, tell me what you know about the plaintiff's property.
Well, I know that they lived together for almost 10 years, and they acquired furniture. She had jewelry. She had her clothing.
Did you ever see the defendant take any furniture from the house?
I did not actually see her take it, no, ma'am.
So how do you know she has it?
I went there 3 days after she was in the coma to get her belongings from the house. and saw that the house had already been ransacked. And there was only 3 people that had keys to the house: Leo, who was in jail, Piper, who was in the coma, and the children. So the children, maybe Paula, I didn't see them actually take it, but they're the only ones that had access to the house to get those belongings.
Did you have to use a key to get into the house?
I didn't actually get into the house. I saw it through the windows.
Did you try to get into the house?
Yes, I did.
Was the door locked?
Yes, it was.
What floors could you see from the window where you were looking?
Mostly the living room and the kitchen.
And had you been to the house before?
Yes, I had.
So what kind of furniture had been there in the living room previously?
There was a couch and a love seat, a dining room set. That's all I can think of at the time.
And all of that was gone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm with you, Miss Heyer.
Okay. First off, I'd like to call my daughter Danielle for a witness. The first time we were allowed into the home, I wasn't even allowed. It was still under crime scene by the police for at least a week. The second day of this, I had to go by the home to have my daughter go in and pick up some medicine. She was escorted in by the police. At that time, I wasn't able to even go into the home.
And what about the third day?
I have no idea on the third day. They were going to contact us. I forget the detective's name at the time where we could go in and remove the children's clothes.
Well, this is a copy of a newspaper article. This indicates that Mr. McCullum at some point was free on bond of $300,000. So he was freed awaiting trial for a period of time?
Yes, ma'am, almost a year.
When was bail set?
Bail was set, I believe, at the time that he was arrested, but between his attorneys, they wanted it reduced, but our side said no.
Doesn't make any difference. He was free on bail.
Yes, ma'am, but that happened 3 weeks after. He was in jail for 3 weeks before he was released on bond. And I have another article here that talks about the belongings.
I'd like to read that too. The defendant says she doesn't have them. I don't know whether she has them or not, but there has to be some proof that she has them, because there are possibly other explanations as to what happened to the property. I'll get to that in a minute. What's your name?
Danielle.
Danielle, did you originally lie to the police about this fire?
Yes.
You originally lied to the police and told them that your father was nowhere around. Is that right?
No.
Danielle McCullum said that she was standing 5 feet from her father and O'Neill in a neighbor's yard when the woman burst into flames. She said she didn't see a lighter in either of their hands. Later, she said she originally told the detective she had been in her room when O'Neill caught fire. She told the jury Wednesday she lied because she was scared.
That's true.
So why would I believe anything she says?
Ma'am, I never got a phone call. I never got a card asking how I was doing or anything. Nothing. After 9 years.
After 9 years, and 3 of the children living with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, they must not be very nice
I had
people.
my very bad faults, but
She's drunk.
Excuse me? Listen.
She was an alcoholic.
Well, there had to be some reason why, listen to me, madam, she may not be perfect, but there had to be some reason why your 3 girls chose to live with their father instead of you. There had to be some reason.
There is. I was incarcerated.
Well, that's a very good reason.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Piper Acetella says her ex-boyfriend's ex-wife, Paula Heyer, ransacked her home and stole her belongings. Piper says the theft occurred while she was in a coma.
She says it wasn't her. It certainly wasn't you. That leaves old Leo. Now, what could Leo have done? Could Leo have given his attorney the key to the house and said to his attorney, in case she makes it, I don't want her to have anything? He could have done that. May have even sent it over to her house. Who knows? Anybody who was crazy enough to do what he did could do anything. And clearly, if he was out on $300,000 bond, he had some money. Where did he get the money from for $300,000 bond? From his parents.
Oh, yeah.
So he could have given his parents the key to the house.
They weren't there yet.
They're out of state.
Doesn't make any difference. Gotten it to them, said one way or another, you get into that house and take everything out of that house. I don't want, in case she gets better, I don't want her to have a thing.
Can she explain about Nancy, the woman that actually saw them taking the stuff in and out?
Well, I would like to hear a witness if you have that witness. Where is that witness?
She was reached by telephone, but apparently she couldn't make it here.
Why? Who is she?
She's Leo's cousin's wife.
She came to see me in the hospital quite frequently while I was waiting for her to come out of her coma.
Well, why can't she be here?
She said that she would be here, but she had to talk it over with her husband, and we think that when she did that, and since he's related to Leo, that they didn't want her to show up here because it would be a plus on her side. So she never did return the calls after that.
Do you understand my problem?
Yes.
What?
I know where the furniture went.
Well, then let me hear you.
Okay. Leo's brother, McCullum, had put everything into storage because the landlord had got a hold of him stating that he was going to trash anything and everything that was left in the house because the rent was due. So took the stuff from the house, put it into storage. I have the receipts where he paid storage for 10 months.
And when was that done?
Just a second. Here we go.
And I was never notified.
So Leo's brother?
Yes.
Leo's brother took the stuff and put it in storage?
Yes. Which he paid storage on for 10 months before he took it out.
Well, where is it now?
It's at his residence in Ozark, Missouri.
Your Honor, I was never notified.
Regards to the contents of Leo McCullough's household goods, McCullum, removed and put in storage in August of 1999. I kept it in storage for 10 months, which then I moved some of the property into storage in my house. Let us make copies of the storage receipts. Let us make a copy of this before the plaintiff leaves today. Now you know where your stuff is. You know where your furniture is.
Maybe the furniture, but my clothes, I mean, they had a habit of stealing stuff out of my closet.
I know, but you can't prove that. We're talking about major stuff now. I mean, I can't say whether they took your clothes, whether they took your shirts, whether they took whatever. The brother went into the house, according to his own letter. He went into the house. That's what I said. I said, he could have turned this key over to a relative, to his parents, to his brother, and said, get it out of there. I don't want her to have anything, because I'm going to spend the rest of my life in jail anyway. Hopefully.
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 I'll be there to see it.
Right. So, here's this. Try again. Wrong defendant. Got it? Make sure she gets that. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
4-year-old parcel handler Patty Marr is suing her ex-boyfriend, 37-year-old factory worker James Brown, for a series of unpaid loans. James says the money wasn't a loan until they broke up.
Order. All rise.
Somebody annoying you this morning?
No, not really. Your Honor, this is case number 73 on the count in the matter of Marr versus Brown. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Marr, according to your complaint, you and the defendant met on the internet?
That's correct.
And began a relationship that lasted a relatively short period of time. During that time, it is your claim that you made loans to him well in excess of $5,000.
That's correct, Your Honor.
The relationship is over. You want your money. The defendant says that he made no promise to return anything that you gave him, that everything that you bought or gave him were just that, gifts, right?
Correct.
Give me the date when, after you met him on the internet, you met in person.
March 20th of 2000.
And how long did the relationship last?
Up through February 27th of this year.
When was the first loan that you made to him?
May of 2000.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding that.
At that time, he would tell me how stressed he was and he needed money for bills, about $500, and he wanted it in cash, and I did that for him.
Where were you when the conversation took place?
On the phone, late at night.
He said, you said?
He just said he was behind in bills. He didn't know what he was going to do. You know, he was very stressed. And when he gets stressed, Your Honor, he gets chest pains. And
so you said what?
I said, I'll be happy to loan you the money till you can get on your feet. And it was definitely a loan.
You didn't say to him it's definitely a loan. I just want you to tell me what you said to him.
I said, how much would it take to catch you up in your bills?
That sounds right. That sounds like something you might say to him. How much will it take? And he said $500?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. You say he told you it would be about $500.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you say?
I said, I'll be happy to Get you on your feet.
Okay, that sounds better. Not probably quite accurate. I'll be happy to help you, or that wouldn't be a problem. I can help you with that. Is that what you said to him?
I will help you out until you can get on your feet. He was unemployed at the time.
Okay, so you said, I'll help you out until you get on your feet.
Mm-hmm. Which he never did, in my opinion.
Right?
Pardon me?
You said, I'll help you out until you get on your feet. Is that a loan?
Yes.
Yes, that's a loan, perhaps, if he ever gets on his feet.
Well, he says he's broke, but I
Then
know
he's
different.
not on his feet?
Well, he
Miss
is.
Marr?
He is employed now.
Not on his feet?
That's a matter of opinion.
I understand that. That's not smart of you. All right, so when was the next time you claimed you gave him money?
Would you like to see?
I don't want to see
Okay.
Listen
I
to
mean,
me.
there was tons of times, and the reason I just kept doing it and doing it is because he would tell me he had a terminal illness, he had a year to live. He faked heart attacks, and he would threaten to rob a convenience store, and I would panic and think, you can't do that. That's immoral. That's against the law. What can I do so you're not so stressed? He had heart attacks. That is how my husband died. I was just totally worked up.
Not true, Your Honor.
I have proof.
Just a second.
My son here, he has witnessed these things that I have said.
Listen to me. I want you to calm down
Okay.
and calmly tell me the next time you gave him cash. When was it?
It was in October. He had just moved to a different city.
Tell me about the conversation that you had with him. He moved?
I had spent a few days prior to that, and he never brought it up. The minute I get home from the weekend, he says how stressed he is, he's having chest pain, and that he's behind on some bills, and he needed to get them paid. There was utilities, the water was going to be shut off, his cell phone was going to be shut off, no phone, he wouldn't be able to come and call me. So
What did you say?
I
I'll help
said,
you.
what do you need? Why didn't you tell me when I was there?
Okay, and what did he say he needed?
About $600.
You have proof?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it?
Yes, ma'am. Well, let me look at my list here.
The first money in May of 2000, you gave him cash.
That's correct, Your Honor. I have proof that it came out of my savings and cashier's check, that it went directly to him.
I want to know the next cash item that you gave to him.
There was always something, prescriptions.
No, cash.
I made cash deposits right into his checking account. And I have 3 times I did that in July and August. It was right after his back surgery. He couldn't work. He gave me the same old sob story. And I have all that proof right here, Your Honor.
Let me see it.
And that totaled $1,400 in 3 deposits.
I'd like to see proof of that.
Thank you, Bert.
All right, when was the next cash that you gave to him?
At the end of the year, $400. I have the withdrawals, and I gave him the cash.
That doesn't prove anything. You just withdrew $400, but it doesn't show that it was transferred into his checking account. Is that right?
He didn't have a checking account in town.
Yes, I did.
I gave it right to him because he came down to see me, and the only way he could come down to see me is if he rented a car, and so that's why I gave him $400.
All right.
He would constantly give me these stories that would...
Miss Marr, if you're constantly giving you stories, then you say to him, after the second time he gives you a story, you say to him, adios, goodbye.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Hattie Marr claims ex-boyfriend James Brown conned her out of money by playing on her sympathy. Hattie says he faked a heart condition and a life-threatening illness.
Your story is, and I read your complaint, that your husband had died of heart attack, that you met him, that you were very vulnerable, that he appeared very, very nice person, that he...
But he manipulated me.
Well, you're a grown-up lady?
But I was grieving at the time.
You're a grown-up lady?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so he took advantage of you?
Yes, by faking heart attacks, by threatening to commit suicide. I would be on the phone for hours.
Well, that would have saved you a couple of bucks if he committed suicide. You know, there comes a point when you say, listen, you got to do what you got to do.
But I cared for him. I loved him.
What?
I cared for him, and I loved him, and I believed, and I trusted everything he told me. He had me going all the time.
I got the picture. This is not a hard picture. This is a picture that I see time and time again. I have some money that she can establish she gave to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm not talking about buying you a new tire or buying you prescriptions or paying for your cell phone bill. I'm talking about cash money.
Yes, Your Honor. This is my current...
I don't care about your current. I care about the then.
But Patty had made statements that she wanted to talk to her, and she told...
Just pay attention to me.
Okay.
I run the show. And if you have a heart attack here, we'll make sure, very, very sure, sir, that you get out the door so you don't interfere with the rest of my calendar. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Yes.
She gave you cash. She wrote you checks. She deposited cash in your account. Is that true? Is this proof here that I have accurate?
Yes, it is, but
Perfect.
there is...
No. I'll ask the next question. Did you repay her in cash for any of this money? $500, $600, and $1,400. Did you repay her for any of that?
If she wanted me to come down and see her, why would I repay her when she wanted me to come down and see her?
The answer is either yes or no.
No, I told her there was never no talk about repaying her.
I'm asking you a question. Did you pay her back this money?
No.
You acknowledge that she gave you the money?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Now, are you currently under the care of a cardiologist?
No, Your Honor.
Did you at any time indicate to the plaintiff that you had a heart condition?
I do have a heart
The answer
problem.
is either yes or no.
Yes.
You did. And did you at any time tell the plaintiff that you were stressed financially?
Yeah, I was stressed financially, yes.
And after you told her that you were stressed financially, she gave you some money?
Yeah, she said, I'll help you out, here's a gift, you know. And I said, I can't afford to repay you. She knew I could not afford to repay her.
Why can't you afford to repay her?
I was unemployed, Your Honor, raising...
Why were you unemployed?
Because I had had back surgery and
A lot of
stomach
people
surgery.
have back surgery. When did you have back surgery?
June of last year.
Where had you been working before that time, sir?
I was working part-time at Walmart.
Part-time at Walmart? How old are you?
37.
Why were you working part-time at Walmart? What's wrong with you?
I had 2 stomach surgeries.
2 stomach surgeries for what?
Stomach, what was polyps, cancer.
You know, I doubt that.
Hmm?
When was the last time you held a full-time job?
2 years ago. Well, actually, last year. The year before, it was 99.
Con artist. Are you the current girlfriend? Step up here. When did you meet Sir Lancelot?
I met him in February.
You met him in February?
2001.
Oh. Can't be without a meal check. What kind of work do you do?
I'm an internet customer service for Northwest Airlines.
How much do you earn annually?
I don't know, probably 25,000.
And what's Prince Charming doing?
He's working full-time.
Mm-hmm.
He
Where?
has been since I've known him.
Where?
He was at Minn Kota, and now he's at, they make trusts.
So he has a nice job?
Yes.
Good, he makes good money?
Yes.
Perfect. You owe $2,500, judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I had spoke with Patty on the phone, and she basically said if she gave him more money, he would come back, and she was addicted to
He
it.
faked 2 heart attacks in my home with my son present.
Is suing the mother of his child, 22-year-old homemaker Suhey Gonzalez, for having him falsely arrested for domestic violence. Suhey says Jason threatened their infant son with a knife.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. Now, this is case number 174 on the calendar in the matter of Lopez versus Gonzalez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Lopez, you and the defendant have a child together, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
It is your complaint that the defendant had you arrested on false charges of assault, domestic violence, and you want to be compensated for that. And in addition, you want a home entertainment center that you say was yours, that is in the defendant's home. The defendant says that the home entertainment center was a gift. You did, in fact, assault her, and she is counterclaiming for her injuries.
I don't have nothing. He took everything.
Defendant says home entertainment center was a gift. Do you still have it?
No, he took everything.
She doesn't have it. And that you did, in fact, assault her. And her counterclaim is for the injuries that she suffered during the course of this assault, which occurred around Christmas time. Is that right?
Christmas Day.
Okay. All right, Mr. Lopez. Were you living with the defendant at the time that you were arrested?
I was moving out. I was in the moving out.
He was already a week out.
I'm going to get to you in a minute, but don't interrupt him. What do you mean you were in the process of moving out? What does that mean?
The day after Thanksgiving, we had a really big argument and we had broken up. So we made an agreement by no later than the first week of January that I had to have everything of mine moved out and be completely moved out. I was staying between there, like a few days if I babysitted my son, or I stood at my best friend's house or my mother's house.
So most of the time you weren't living there?
Yes.
All right. So tell me about Christmas Day. You came over to the house?
What happened was we agreed to meet up at my best friend's house. We picked up my son and her son, her other child, and we agreed to go back to her house, to her apartment, and open up the children's gifts together. And from there, when we arrived at the home, we opened the gifts. She asked me to stay a little bit longer while she took a shower so I could watch the children. I agreed. At that time, I received a phone call from my fiancée on my fiancée's cell phone, just before she went to the bathroom to take a shower. At that time, I was speaking to her. I explained to her what time I was going to be finished. I explained to her that she was going to take a shower and I was going to meet up with her right after. At that time, she began screaming, saying stuff that didn't need to be said over the phone for my fiancé to hear. So at that time, I said, why are you acting up? You know what? I'm not going to stay. I'm leaving. She began an argument. I tried to leave. I had my son in my arms with the cell phone. She wouldn't let me leave. So I said, you know what? I'm leaving. I'm leaving my son. I put my son down in the crib. At that time, I dropped the cell phone in the crib without knowledge when I put my son down. I tried to leave. She blocked the doorway. I kept on explaining to her, move, move. I want to leave. I'm not staying. I'm out. She didn't want to let me. So then I barged through. She had her arms spread out against the doorway, holding me, not letting me go. So when I barged through so I could leave, she scratched her arm. So I left. When I got outside, I went to go call my fiancé.
That is not your
And
when I got downstairs,
Ms. Gonzalez, I don't want to hear it's not true again. Do you understand?
No problem.
No, that's not an answer. The answer is yes, Your Honor, I understand. I will not interrupt again.
Yes, Your Honor, I understand. I will not interrupt again.
That's right. Go ahead.
So outside, I went to make an attempt to call my fiancé, and I noticed I didn't have the phone. So when I went back upstairs...
That was stupid.
Because the phone was upstairs.
That was stupid.
I went and I looked for the phone.
Say yes, that was stupid.
Yes, it was stupid. So I asked her if she had the cell phone.
You had just gotten out of the house. You pushed her. She scratched her arm, according to you. You leave the cell phone and you go. You don't go back into a confrontational area, sir. That's stupid, Mr. Lopez.
Yes, Your
All
Honor.
right, so you go back upstairs. What happened when you went back upstairs?
When I got upstairs, I asked her, did she have the cell phone? She says, I don't have it. So as I looked through the house, I remembered I had it in my hand when I put my son down. When I looked into the crib, my son wasn't in the crib. I went and found my cell phone under the sheet. Again, I attempted to leave. Again, she blocked my way. I said, just move, then move. At that time, she told me she had called the cops and I was going to be arrested. I said, well, I'm leaving. And outside the door, a lady, which I had never seen before in this building, for the whole year I was living there, had my son. As I attempted to take my son from the lady, 2 female officers were coming upstairs.
What were you taking your son from the lady for?
I didn't know the lady. If I don't know the person, I don't want nobody I don't know having my son in my hands. I don't know what they'll do. So the 2 officers were downstairs. They came, and they brought us all into the apartment, me, her, and the 2 kids. While we were in the apartment, the officers explained because this domestic problem, they were going to arrest both of us. At that time, they would take both children and put them in child custody. I said, I'm not pressing no charges. I don't want nothing. I just want to go home. My son can stay. I have no problem. At that time, the female officer told me to stand by the door, don't move. So at that time, there was a knock at the door. 2 more officers came, 2 male officers now. We go back inside. She's in there screaming. Next thing you know, all I hear is her mother screaming at me. Jason, I wouldn't do this to you. And she said, why are you doing this? I said, what's going on? The officer said, turn around, and they handcuffed me. Later, when I was taken down to central booking for arrest, I was informed of the charges. It was assault with weapon, child endangerment. They said I put a knife to my son's back. At no time did I ever touch a knife to grapple against my son. Because of that, I had charges of an ACS for attempted on my child and
All right, you were held in jail for 2 days, is that right?
For, yeah, almost 2 days.
2 days.
I called my fiance.
All right, the charges were subsequently dismissed when you decided to drop all charges against each other, is that right?
Yeah.
Do you see your son now so regularly?
No.
Why not?
I still can't because she won't let me see my son.
Uh-huh.
It's a struggle for me to see my son.
All right.
And every time we went to family court for me to get a chance to see my son, she made false charges, knowing I was going to get visitation of my son, then I'm arrested.
Okay. I'd like to see first the medical bills that you have as a result of this incident on Christmas Day.
I didn't get to get the medical bills because this happened so quick that I didn't get a chance to get them. So I have my pictures.
Let me see all the papers you have. All the papers.
Your Honor, Judy.
And the lady that
Just
called,
a second. These scratches are what you're talking about?
Yeah, I had a scratch.
All right.
I had a hairline fracture in my left hand.
Don't tell me you had a hairline fracture without any medical bills, without reports. Don't tell me about a hairline fracture.
Excuse me, Judge.
I'll get to you in a minute.
Thank you.
I have a few questions for Ms. Gonzalez. The police officer who took this report took your statement, is that right?
Yes, and on the statement?
I'm speaking. The police officer who took the report took your statement, and he read the statement to you, is that right?
Yes, he did.
And after he read the statement, he asked you if it was accurate, is that right?
Yes, he did.
And you said it was accurate, is that right?
That's right.
And you signed it?
Yes.
And you wouldn't have left out anything vitally important, is that right?
No.
So I'm going to read what you wrote in the statement.
I didn't write that. The officer wrote
What I don't care whether you wrote it or the officer wrote it. I just asked you whether he read it to you and whether you signed it. You said yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Lopez says ex-girlfriend Suhey Gonzalez had him falsely arrested for domestic abuse. Suhey claims Jason slammed her hand in a door and held a knife to their son's throat.
All right, Ms. Gonzalez, I'm going to read what you wrote in this police report. It says, at the time and place listed above, the perpetrator, that's him, who was the victim's common-law husband, did grab the victim by her throat, choked her, at which time he forced her left hand between the door and the wall and repeatedly slammed the door on the victim's hand, causing substantial pain and swelling to the victim's left hand. That's what this says, okay? Now I'm going to tell you what you wrote in your answer. When I told him to leave, he grabbed our son and tried to take him. When I tried to stop him, he pulled a knife out and held it to my son's neck. He said, if you don't let me take him, I'll kill both of us.
No, they didn't write it in the police.
They wrote nothing about a knife threatening to kill himself, threatening to kill this child. You know why they didn't write that down? Because you didn't tell them that.
Is that you?
No. Because you didn't tell them that.
All right, I didn't tell them exactly at the time.
Right, at the
because
time.
they had me in a separate room, they had him outside.
Just a second. At the time, you didn't tell them that he took out a knife, he held it to the baby's throat, he threatened to kill the baby. You told them that he hurt your hand and your hand was in pain, not that he threatened to kill your child. You made that up later.
No, I did not.
Oh, yes, you did.
Oh, no, I did not.
Oh, yes, you did.
They knew that he was the one. Can I say something now?
Yeah.
In that police report, the lady signed, she's the one who signed right next to the statement, not me. Because I didn't call the cops because he broke my phone, and that's why. I didn't call the cops. The lady from my building called the cops. She's the one who had both of my kids because my oldest was crying. She's the one who called the cops.
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to call the cops.
Here we go.
Because he wanted to take my son, just like he took my son 3 weeks ago.
Let me explain to you what got you angry, Miss Gonzalez. I've been in this business a long time. He's at your house. According to your answer, he told you a couple of weeks before or a month before, he didn't want to have, I'm speaking, that he didn't want to have anything to do with you anymore. He had a new girlfriend. Clearly, he has a new girlfriend. All right?
Excuse me.
I'm speaking. He comes over to your house, right? According to your answer. You open up the Christmas presents together. It's all a nice family situation. You ask him to watch the kids while you go take a shower. This is what you write here. When you come out of the shower, you hear him on the phone with his girlfriend. I'm not saying that that's what happened to her. I'm saying that that's what she wrote in her answer. That makes one very angry.
Of course.
Of course. Of course that makes you very angry because there you're here with him, with a new baby. He's taking care of the baby's presents. He's in your house Christmas time, and he's going to say goodbye to you, and he's going to go to girlfriend number...
And it was just a week that we had broken up.
Fine. So you're really angry. The knife was a nice touch. He wasn't arrested with a knife. He wasn't arrested with a knife. You know what I'm talking about.
And
you know what I'm talking about.
And I know what happened.
Yeah.
And I know exactly what happened. Because he tried to take my son. He tried to take my son.
Just a second. What do you mean?
That's how, who called my mother?
Miss
Who called my
Gonzalez.
mother? The lady?
Miss Gonzalez.
That called the cops?
Miss Gonzalez. Is he the father?
Yes, he's the father. And I'm not saying that he's not.
speaking. Is he the father?
Yes.
Then you have no greater right to this child than he does.
But he kidnapped my son for 3 weeks.
He can't. You can't kidnap your own child unless there's an order of custody.
This is recently. We've been going through this. I just want to go on with my life. I want him to go on with his life. If he wants to see his son, he's more than welcome to see his son.
Miss
I have nothing
Gonzalez,
wrong with that. But
I'm
he cannot see
speaking.
his son
I'm
because
going
he
to
has
say
order
1, 2, 3.
protection.
Then they're going to put you out. When you claim that you were severely assaulted, and the best picture that you can come up with is a picture showing me 2 scratches on your arm, 2 scratches. That's what they are. No hairline fracture, no hospital records, no, well, all right. This was an argument. And unfortunately, because the police take domestic violence seriously, as they should, they got to arrest somebody.
And I lost my securities license.
Mr. Lopez, you do not get an A+ for smarts. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't get an A+ for going back for a $39.99 cell phone after you have already had an altercation with her, and you were out of the problem. You were outside.
Because he never went outside.
Excuse me?
Because he never went outside.
Because you wouldn't let him go outside, Miss Gonzalez,
because he was
you
trying
were
to kidnap
so
my
angry.
son. He was trying to take my son. And he's devious like that. That he would take my son and leave. Just like he did 3 weeks ago. And that's why he was going to get rearrested. I had to get the cops to come get my son from his house.
You keep saying my son.
Because he's my son. Because he don't pay no child support. He doesn't do nothing.
What do you do for a
he
living?
He hasn't done nothing.
What do you do for a living?
I was working.
What do you do for a living now?
Nothing.
Who supports the child?
I do.
No, not if you're not working. You get welfare?
Yes, I do.
If you get welfare, then I support your son. You think I should take him?
Yeah, but I was
just
working.
Just a second. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? He doesn't support his child, and you don't support your child. I support your child. So that means that I should get custody? Don't be ridiculous. All right, Miss Gonzalez, you keep saying, it's my child. He's taking my child. He's entitled to see his child. It doesn't sound to me like he's too bright. Because he went from this child, you're going to have another child? You keep rubbing your belly, right? Yes. You got enough trouble with one. You're going to make another one? Yep. How many more do you have?
That's the only one. The only one coming.
In any event, I read the police report. I read the police report that doesn't talk about a knife to the throat, threatened to kill the child, threatened to kill anybody, and I see 2 scratches on your arm. You also, sir, yeah, you want to play that for me?
Yes, I even have an
Go
audio tape
ahead,
of
let
her
me hear it.
But I still get over the fact why you had me arrested.
Because I was just upset. Things were going through my mind. I'm admitting I'm sorry.
Oh, so you're admitting that you did get me arrested?
This is why he was...
This chick, because I was with another chick?
No, it wasn't only because of that. It was because a lot of things, Jason.
Oh, okay. But then why did you tell him I punched you in your face? I choked the out of you?
No, I didn't say that.
Gigi, the DA said that in the court.
Mr. Lopez, I didn't even have to listen to that. I mean, I've heard this, I've been around this business now for 27 years, right? Yes. And I know, when I read your papers, I see her affect, right? Yes. And I know exactly what happened. That doesn't mean that you were smart, A, as I said, to go back to the cell phone, B, to get a telephone call from your girlfriend. Tell your girlfriend, don't call me until I call you. I don't want to create any more problems with her. I'm going to open presents with the children. Don't call me. That creates a problem.
We had already opened the gifts. This was around the time I was getting ready to leave.
She shouldn't have called you. And you shouldn't have spoken to her. Say, this is a tacky problem. I don't want there to be any problem with her. Don't call me. I'll be there. I'll be home when I'm home. And the reason she called is because it's a little territorial. She's not so happy either. You're going over to visit mother number 1. She's going to be mother number 2. You know, you got to be smart.
She wasn't pregnant at the time.
2 months later. Wow,
now she is. Now she is, right? And on your security job, you can hardly afford to pay for yourself.
I don't have work.
Listen to me, sir. When you had a security job, you could hardly afford to pay for 1 child. Now you're going to have 2. Did you pay for a lawyer? No. They gave you a free lawyer.
Yes.
You spent a couple of days in jail.
Yes.
You shouldn't have.
And so did I, because he falsely arrested me.
For what?
he said that I made phone harassment. On June 30th, he called me. I have the phone records for that. He called me with my own phone card that he rung up. He falsely arrested me on June 31st. I got arrested. I made the report on June 30th. As soon as the time right after he called me and called them and let them know that he was calling me and harassing me. And he called me with my own phone card. And right after that, he calls his girlfriend and his mother.
No. No.
Ms. Gonzalez, your counterclaim is for the assault that you claim he perpetrated on you
and
on
forced
Christmas
arrest.
Day.
It says it on the paper.
And according to your complaint, you are filing for injuries and damages due to the alleged assault. Okay? You do say somewhere in your answer that he filed false charges, but the damages you are requesting are for the assault. And I don't find that he assaulted you, so your counterclaim is dismissed. The only thing that I have to consider now is whether there was an argument and whether, as a result of false statements that you made and continue to make and continue to embellish to the police.
Not me,
Betty,
because I wanna go on with my life. He's the one who brings me here. For what?
He brought you here
For
because
what? He keeps calling me and harassing me.
Listen to me. He's known you a long time. I've met you now for about 15 minutes, and I don't think he's crazy. And I wouldn't precipitate phone calls and contact with you because I think that you're an angry lady. I think that you feel as if he jilted you, that he left you high and dry with your baby, and now he's got somebody else. All of those things, doesn't pay child support, you're not working, but that doesn't give you the right to have him arrested and make false allegations, which I believe that you did, and I'm awarding him $1,000 on his claim. That's all. By the way, she doesn't have your entertainment center.
Yes, she
That's
does.
all.
Your Honor, when we went there, the officers
Goodbye.
explained.
Well, here's our excuse. You may step out.
I'm happy that finally the truth came out, that somebody actually really knows what happened.
I just want to go on with my life. This is a closed chapter in my life, and I'm going on with my life.
She started this whole mess, nobody else but her, and then she has the nerve to get all upset.
I hope he goes on with his life and start paying child support and give me back my son's stroller that he stole for her new baby.
Please,
and
I
that's
already
it.
have one, honey.
Yeah, right. So you know what? Shove it up your plain and simple.
Oh, you're so classy.
My son is my life. I would never do anything to harm my son.
Go on with your life.
He wants to take care of the child. He doesn't want to be with you. When Amanda says he doesn't want to be with you, just leave it alone.
Keep him up.
7-year-old stock analyst Lori Ronstadt is suing her ex-boyfriend, 28-year-old computer technician Eric Nelson, for the cost of a motorcycle.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 236 on the calendar in the matter of Ronstadt versus Nelson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Ronstadt, when did you and the defendant start to live together?
Approximately May 1st, 2000.
And when did you separate?
He left on the 19th of July, 2001.
Were you both working at the time?
I was not working. He had lost his job the day prior.
So how did you support the household?
I have a nervous system disease, and I was receiving disability payments.
You were receiving disability?
Which exceeded his income.
No, that's a false statement, Your Honor.
Oh.
Yes, it is.
What kind of work were you doing, sir?
I'm a computer technician.
And how much did you earn last year?
$63,000.
Okay. Now, did you move into a new apartment together, or did you move in with him, or did he move in with you?
We moved into a new apartment together. I was making $110,000 at the time I lost my job, and I was receiving disability payments in excess of $2,600 a month.
Your Honor, she was borrowing money from her mother to support this.
This lawsuit has to do with the fact that you claim that you purchased for your joint use a motorcycle.
That's correct.
That's a false statement, Your Honor.
Mr. Nelson, I don't want to hear from you until I look in your direction or ask you a question.
Okay.
That he won't return to you.
That's correct.
Mr. Nelson says that you purchased this motorcycle for him as a gift. That's your defense.
Yes, Your Honor, that's true.
Okay. Now, I would like you to tell me the circumstances surrounding the purchase of this motorcycle. When was it purchased?
It was purchased on April 20th, the year 2001. I purchased it because when I lost my job, we had a fair amount of money to live on, but by April, it became apparent that it just wasn't going to make it. I talked to Mr. Nelson, took a full 401k distribution. I got approximately $17,000 left. I have all the proof here. The bike cost $9,400. I did so because he was driving a 4Runner. The 4Runner was costing about $500 a month in just gas alone. And we needed to cut down on our daily expenses. We could not fork out that amount of money on a daily basis for gas. Plus, he had to pay a toll fee to go across the bridge to get to work. Using a motorcycle, you avoid the toll fee.
So?
We bought the bike.
Now I'll hear from you.
Your Honor, on my birthday, 4/10, she told me that for my birthday, as a gift, that she would be buying a motorcycle for me. And it's a wonderful gift. Plus, it will save on the gas and all these other things. This was not for our use. It was for my use, and it was a gift as a birthday present. 4/10, we had discussed going to look at motorcycles on the weekend. We did so on Sunday, April 15th, and put a deposit of $100 on the motorcycle in question. We were waiting on the rest of the 401k loan to come in, and it did come in. Sorry?
Not a 401k loan, a 401k payout. She got cash.
Okay, yeah. Well, she took that money and told me that she was going to pay the debts that were incurred because of her out-of-control spending with eBay and whatnot, the debts that she was creating, as well as buying a motorcycle for me as a gift. We went back on 4/21 and paid the remainder of the balance. She was talking to the salesman, and I have a written statement from the salesman.
Don't tell me what the salesman said.
This is very important
And the
because
salesman should have been here.
He couldn't come here because he's a salesman. He couldn't make it. He doesn't know me. Why would he take the time to come to the
Not
court?
a reason. That's hearsay.
Okay. Well, she also told Jamie Curley and my mother. We rode the motorcycle to my mother's house, and she boasted this beautiful gift that this generous gift that she bought for her son, as a birthday gift.
Why did you leave in July?
We were having some difficulties. We were having a lot of difficulties, and she was adding a lot of stress to my life, and plus my children. She was not really caring for my children or very sympathetic towards the situation between my children and I. She didn't want them around. She was trying to control how often I saw my children and whatnot.
But that wasn't a recent thing. That probably had been going on for a while.
Has been, yes.
Was it going on before April of 2001?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
So what'd you take this very expensive gift for?
Because it was a gift for me.
So why did you accept a very expensive gift if things weren't going well?
They weren't going too well, but I mean, these things were tolerable, and it was getting progressively worse. When she lost her job, things just kept going downhill from there. And, I got to a point where I was just fed up and I was done.
Now, one of the defenses that you have to this action, other than the fact that it was a gift, is that you say that jointly you purchased furniture for this apartment that you moved in together. And the only thing that you left with was the motorcycle.
It wasn't, I wanted to leave clean. I didn't want to have it drag out or anything, and we had discussed, she said I could take, I told her three things that I wanted. I'm going to take, I said I'd like to take the computer desk, the DVD player, and our big screen TV. And that's it, and you can have the rest, and I'm leaving. And I didn't include the motorcycle because that was a gift and that was mine. So I didn't ask her, is it okay if I take my motorcycle? I had a police civil standby because her son got out of control that night and brought two friends over.
Did you in fact take this TV?
No, I did not. She wouldn't allow me to take the TV because
so did you take anything from the apartment?
No. Only, excuse me. I took my clothes, my belongings, and the
motorcycle.
And the motorcycle. And the police wanted me to get my stuff and get out. They were there on a civil standby, and I was standing right next to an officer when I rode off with the motorcycle.
Now, who paid for all the furniture in the apartment?
She paid partially, and we had a joint account and whatnot. So I don't know exactly how much of what we paid for.
How much money did you put into the joint account each week?
Actually, I have it right here. I have statements right here.
I have a statement also, Your Honor.
How much money did he put into the joint account?
$1,263 every 2 weeks.
Okay. What was the rent on the apartment?
$1,800.
$1,850, Your Honor.
Excuse me. This motorcycle was not an issue, if I may. This motorcycle was not an issue until after I'd left and she saw Miss Curley riding on the back of my motorcycle. We left the place, and then Miss Rungstad told me that she said, now, because of this stunt, you're going to lose the motorcycle. And that's when it became the issue.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lori Rongstad is suing her ex-boyfriend, Eric Nelson, for the cost of a motorcycle. Eric says Lori is jealous of his new fiancée.
Is it accurate that he put in about it would come out to about $2,700 a month?
He put it in, but he also had bills that used up all of that money.
I want to know who paid for furnishing the apartment.
I did. I sold over $80,000 worth of stock options. I bought all of the bedroom furniture prior to us ever moving in and charged it on an American Express card.
Are you telling me that he did not contribute to purchasing anything for the apartment?
No, ma'am, he didn't, because I had the cash. I had over $30,000 when we moved in. The only things that we needed to buy once we moved in were we bought a big screen TV, a DVD player, and a couple of VCRs.
Where
Other
did you
than
pay for that from?
At that time, we did not have a joint account.
Where did the money come from?
From myself, from my stock option sales.
Your Honor, I also had stock that I had sold as well, and plus I also put extra money in that we bought stock together, and she put it in her son's name, and then sold the stock, and we used that money as well, so it's not going to look like it came from me at all, but that's what happened.
There's never been any stock in my son's name ever, and that can be proved through IRS records if needed.
I'd like to pull
Now,
those.
I have one other question. The car that you had, the truck that you had, was that sold?
No, ma'am.
Did you continue to use it for the months of May and June?
Yes, I did at times, yes.
So you kept that. Do you drive?
I do drive, but I have my own vehicle.
What kind of vehicle do you have?
At the time, I had a Chrysler Concorde. However, it was tampered with and the engine no longer works, so I had to turn that in and buy a new car.
But when this motorcycle was purchased, you did not sell the other car that he had.
No.
That car was retained.
That's correct.
Now, do you have both vehicles now, sir? The motorcycle and that other car?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
You have both?
Yes.
Okay, and you had both in the month of May?
Yes, I did.
And you had both in the month of June?
Yes.
It was a gift. It was a gift, Miss Rostat. Now, it may have been a gift that you decided should not be a gift because the romance didn't last more than a couple of months after you gave it to him, but that's really not dispositive.
No,
I would accept what you said to me about saving all the money because of saving all the gas money, et cetera, if the agreement was that he was going to sell the car that he had or the truck that he had so that there would be no additional expense, but there is certainly no saving by having two vehicles, two insurance, two repairs, two everything else. I mean, I think that, yes, oh yes.
May I
think
say
that it is, no. I think that it's probably not the moral thing to do to accept this very pricey gift, sir, from somebody where the relationship wasn't going right. You know, guys like big toys, so you're going to take it anyway because where else were you going to get a $9,000 present? But I certainly think it was not the moral thing to do. Do we understand each other?
Yes, I do. I left that house, Your Honor, without taking anything, so
well, my
understand
sense is, from what the plaintiff tells me, that she had far more financial resources to spend to furnish that house than you did. I was a little sympathetic when I first read your answer, and you said, I walked out of this relationship with nothing. We had furnished a house for $25,000, and I just left with this gift and my clothes. Until I ascertained, sir, that you have children for whom I'm sure you pay child support, that you did put in certain joint monies into a joint account, but that went to pay off some bills. You had a car, you had insurance, you had gas. That eats up what you put in to the joint account. So I don't see that you had a lot left over to buy furniture, whether it was a big screen TV, because that would have been a single guy's paradise to leave a relationship with a big screen TV and a motorcycle. So I'm sorry I can't help you, madam.
May I please say a couple other items that I was not able to say?
Sure.
Anything that was a gift, I gave him. I bought him Yardrow Eagles. I bought him a number of very expensive items. I gave those to him. Those were pure gifts. I was down to all of the last money I had in my life, my 401k. I would not have used half of that to buy him a gift. Also,
yes, you did.
No, he also did not.
Yes, you did.
Ma'am, he also did not use...
You shouldn't have used, if it wasn't a gift, you should not have used half the money that you have in your whole life to buy him a motorcycle.
Your Honor.
That's not smart.
I know.
And don't give me all the baloney about he was going to save money on gas. Common sense suggests to me that if you were going to buy somebody a car to save money...
Why did I put it in my name?
No. Listen to me carefully. You would buy him a car for $8,000.
It doesn't get across the bridge fast.
Hey! Did I look at you and ask you a question? A motorcycle is not something that one buys to save money.
It is.
No.
I
a
also grew up with
four-cylinder
them.
little car just to get you to and from work can save money.
Yes.
Right? A motorcycle is a boy toy.
I like motorcycles, and I've always had them.
Good. Buy yourself another one. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's obviously filled the judge's head with lies. I mean, they won when they're purely evil people.
We were next door neighbors, and Lori, Lori won't take any responsibility for their breakup.
I have 20 police reports of all the harassment.
A woman scorned.
After I left her, I got involved with Jamie Curley, and she's off at that.
Alan Lukoski is suing business owner Gene Klun for a semi-automatic rifle.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2055, Lukoski versus Klun.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Lukoski, am I correct that you own or manage a shooting range?
Yes, it's a target range. It's on my own property that I own in northern Minnesota.
And it's licensed to do commercial target shooting?
Not necessarily. What I do is...
What is not necessarily? What does that mean?
Well, for 19 years, I have been a firearms instructor for the permits to carry for the sheriff's department in my county. Okay. So I don't believe that the training is good enough that the people are getting to be able to carry handguns on the street. So I give them a free additional training session at my range.
You also sell guns?
I do not sell guns, no.
How do you make money, is my question.
So I give money by charging people for the class.
Well, that's what I'm talking. You charge people
yes.
to use, and you don't need a license to run that sort of operation in your county.
No, you have to be a registered NRA instructor, which is also,
Are you?
Yes, I am, ma'am.
For how long?
Oh, I've been doing this for 19 years.
The case is really not very complicated, but let me see if I can break it down to its most basic elements. There was a gentleman who regularly came to your range.
Yes.
And his first name was?
Jim.
How long had he been coming to your range?
A couple of years at least.
And then, according to what you indicate in your complaint, and Mr. Klun doesn't deny it, he got sick. And according to you, the nature of his illness, you felt prevented him from using a heavier weapon.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you loaned to him, because of his illness, a rifle.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of rifle did you
It
loan?
was a sporting rifle. It was very lightweight.
What kind?
It was called a PS-90. That was the model.
PS?
PS as in Sam, 90.
Would you take a look at that, Sarah, please?
I have a picture of it, Your Honor, if you'd like to see one.
I would.
It's very unusual. Thank you.
Okay.
May I see it? Thank you.
And on approximately what month and year did you loan Jim this gun?
Well...
Well is not an answer, so let's think carefully, because we know we're coming to
probably a month approximately before he died, which was
I don't know when that was.
September 8th, I believe, he passed away in 2021.
How did you find out that he passed away?
I believe Mary here, who's here because of the fact that she caregave for him while he was going through cancer treatments. She was his reason for staying alive. And she also did witness some things that happened in this case.
Okay, I'll get to you in a second. So he passed away on November 8th.
He died on September 9th.
9th?
Yeah.
Okay.
And okay.
Prior to his passing away, Jim and Mr. Klun had some business deal. And Mr. Klun believed that Jim owed him money. So far, right?
Correct.
And after Jim died, Mr. Klun went to Jim's home and took several things from the home to satisfy that debt.
No, I did not do that, Your Honor. I never came back to the house. I never took anything. Everything I received prior to his death.
Okay. Tell me when you received the gun that belonged to Mr. Lukoski.
Looks like 5/20/21.
Can I see what you have that indicates that you received the gun in May? Because you gave it to him about a month before he died?
Approximately a month.
Well.
Could have been a little longer.
It had to be longer.
Okay.
I picked it up the 5th month.
In May?
Yes.
Okay, and you couldn't have given it to him in August?
Yeah, you're right.
It had to be before then?
Okay.
And tell me the circumstances, because that's what this case is about. Mr. Lukoski claims that it was his gun. It was a loan. You had no right because you took it. You got it, evidently, you want to tell me, from Jim, and then subsequently sold it.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I want you to tell me the circumstances surrounding your getting possession of this gun in May of 2021.
Jim was in need of money, so I loaned him money, and in trade for the money as collateral, he said he would...
Okay. And I'm going to let you tell me this because Jim's not here, so I'm going to have to get more specifics from people who were his caregivers to buttress what you're saying to me. He needed some money. How did you know him?
Best friends from high school.
And you remained friends?
Yes.
How did you find out that Jim needed money?
Jim called me up, and he was getting scammed, but he wanted the money, and he told me
he was getting scammed by whom?
I don't know who it was, but anyway, I would give him $2,500. He would go to the post office and mail it somewhere. But every time he did that, I would receive collateral of motorcycles or guns.
Just a second. I want you to run this by me. Jim called you and said, I'm being scammed?
No. I think he's being scammed.
I don't care what you think.
Okay.
What you think is unimportant to me. I want you to tell me the circumstances surrounding the money that you gave to him. He called you and said...
He needed to borrow money. I borrowed him the money.
No. I need to borrow money. Had you ever loaned him money before?
Yes.
Often?
No. In the last year of his life, I did probably a half a dozen times.
Just in the last year. So when he called you and said, I need to borrow some money, the reaction, even from a best friend, would be, of course, if you need money, tell me why. Right? That's a natural question. And so that's what you asked him. Tell me why.
And I asked him that question, and he said he was going to be receiving $1 million or $2 million in the next few months.
Okay. So you brought Mr. Lukoski's gun back to Jim while he was alive?
No, I sold the gun.
Keep going. So you sold...
This specific...
Just tell the truth. You don't have to have a good memory.
Alan Lukoski claims business owner Gene Clunn owes for a semi-automatic rifle.
So did you ask him how?
I asked him how, and he said he had it all planned with this guy he was sending the money to.
That's all he told you about it? Or did he go into specifics? He did. It had to sound interesting to you, Mr. Clunn, because if my best friend called me and said, I need to borrow some money, and I said, tell me why. And she said, because I'm going to come into $1 million shortly, but I need to borrow money to get it to this guy before I get the $1 million. I would say, explain that to me.
And I did. And he said...
And he said?
He said that he would be receiving money in the next month or 2 months.
Mr. Clunn, then you would say, how does that, and can I get in on it? You know, if I'm sending you $2,500, which is what you said you gave him, I would say, oh, gee, $2,500, that's a reasonable investment, and I'm going to get a return on my money of $1 million shortly. I would say, is there any piece of that for me?
I didn't question him. He just wanted the money, and he said in return for the money, he would give me the motorcycles and guns as collateral.
Okay. May I please see the written agreement that you had?
Verbal.
So other than you and Jim, nobody knew about this agreement?
Not that I'm aware of.
Now, when was the first time you gave him money?
Looks like May.
May?
Of 2021.
Okay. When was the last time you gave him money?
7/6/21.
Between May of 2021 and the beginning of July, how many times did you give him money?
4 times.
And you have that documented with bank records, etc.
Right here, Your Honor.
Okay, great. And tell me how much in total you gave him.
$7,500.
Kevin, would you bring me the documents that Mr. Clunn is looking at, please? So in total, you gave him $7,500. And in return, according to you, you took possession of how many motorcycles?
3 motorcycles.
And they belonged to Jim?
And he signed over the titles and everything to me.
Well, they were collateral.
Right. But he signed over everything and gave me the titles for everything.
Can I see the titles to the motorcycles?
They're sold, ma'am.
Interesting.
As well as the rifles that I got also.
I'm just asking you, do you have the sales receipts from the 3 motorcycles? There were 3? Did you say 3?
Yeah.
Do you have the sales receipts from the 3 motorcycles that you say you sold?
No, but I was paid $5,000 in cash for the 3
How am I supposed to know that, sir?
Okay,
You sold
well,
3
anyway,
motorcycles.
Okay.
How am I supposed to know? I mean, all of this is coming out of nowhere, actually, with no proof whatsoever, unless you're prepared to give me some flesh on this bone of a case. Could you stand up? Your first name is Mary?
Yes, it is.
What's your last name?
Wellman.
Were you Jim's caregiver?
Yes, I lived in the upstairs of his house.
Were you a tenant?
We were friends since the late 90s when I first moved to the area.
So, regular caregiver of his, or were you just as needed?
He developed cancer in the late 90s, and I stayed, then I lived with him in the first 2 years because of the 50-50 survival rate and the constant trips to the Mayo Clinic from where we lived were an entire day trip. And then after about 3 years, when he was kind of back on his feet again, I moved out, but we remained friends and we rode motorcycles together and we did lots together. And
so you lived in the house?
Yeah, and I moved back in okay.
Okay. Were you living in the house when he bought these 3 motorcycles?
2 of them I was. A dual sport that he had changed or upgraded to ride a little bit more rough terrain, possibly into Canada.
Okay, just to...
Okay. Yeah.
That much flesh on the bones I don't need.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Did he buy them new or used?
He had bought them used.
In approximately what year?
Well, would have been during the cancer, and so it approximately 2000 to 2003.
Do you know anything else about his dealings with Mr. Klun?
I do know the motorcycles were in the garage when Jim died.
No, they weren't.
Don't.
Okay.
Don't speak. How do you know that?
Well, I had on and off go out there for things, but then Jim's nephew had come and removed one of the bikes right after Jim had passed away.
So the nephew came and removed one?
Mm-hmm.
But this was after he passed?
Yes.
What's the nephew's first name?
Anthony.
Do you know Anthony, Mr. Klun?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Did you get the motorcycle from Anthony?
Nope, I got the motorcycles from Jim, the motorcycles that were left after Jim passed away.
Okay. Now you can sit down.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Klun. Do you have any statements, text messages, or anything else indicating that Jim indicated to you that he could give you as collateral this rifle, other than the fact that he had it in his possession?
I got more than one rifle. I have checks that were written out to Jim, and that's what we did.
But that doesn't answer my question, Mr. Klun. I don't care how many rifles you had. He only had one that he gave to Jim because it was lighter and easier to shoot. And as his illness progressed, if I'm getting this right, it was hard for him to pick up his own rifle. Now, he may have had more, probably did have more, because you took more than one, right?
Correct.
Okay. How many rifles did you take?
I took 3 rifles, 5 pistols. I had to bring 3 of the rifles back.
Where?
To Jim to get replacements. The guns that were from Mr. Lukoski.
Only one?
3 of them.
No, he said he only gave him one.
Oh, no, but there was 3 of them.
So you brought Mr. Lukoski's gun back to Jim while he was alive?
No, I sold the gun.
Keep going. You sold...
This specific...
Just tell the truth. You don't have to have a good memory. If, heaven forbid, something happened to me and my dentist thought that I owed him $25,000, he couldn't come into my house and say, gee, this Ming vase is just going to cover my dental bill. You can't do that. And that's what you did.
Alan Lukoski is accusing business owner Gene Klun of selling his semi-automatic rifle without permission.
Keep going. So you sold it. You didn't take it back to him to get a replacement.
No,
to Jim.
You misunderstood. The gun that Mr. Lukoski had, I kept that one.
The one that belongs to Mr. Lukoski, you sold it.
Correct, because...
So just a second. Sold it to whom?
The gun dealer in Virginia, Minnesota.
Great. And for that, you have a receipt.
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
I left it at home.
Oh,
Your Honor, I have
Mr. Clun.
Oh,
Mr.
he has
Clun,
it right
let
there.
Mr. Clun, he doesn't have to prove anything to me. I believe that you resorted to self-help to claim a debt. If it's true, and you did in fact give him money, I actually don't believe that a guy like you would give him all this money without trying to find out what the scam was, or at least tell him, Jim, it sounds to me like you're being scammed. Somebody in Transylvania sent you an email that said a long-distant relative of yours died and left you $1 million. I need $2,500 in order to clear the paperwork to send you $1 million. And I will keep a little piece for myself for finding you. You know how many of those everybody gets? I don't know why people still believe that, but you evidently believed that story 4 times. And not once did you say your friend who was dying of cancer, Jim, this is ridiculous. What you're doing is just throwing good money after bad. I don't understand why you didn't say that to him, or if you did, you would not have said to him, unless you had something to gain, which clearly you did. You sold the motorcycles. You don't have any proof of what you sold them for. You expect me to take your word for the fact that you sold them for $5,000 in cash without proof. He owed you, if I were to believe you and these checks, $7,500. You sold the motorcycles, you sold guns, but unfortunately, one of the things that you sold belonged to the plaintiff. And when somebody dies, there is an estate. There's a judge who decides what property there is. You know, if heaven forbid something happened to me and my dentist thought that I owed him $25,000, he couldn't come into my house and say, gee, I like this Ming vase. This Ming vase is just going to cover my dental bill. You can't do that. And that's what you did. You sold property. You may have had a claim against his estate if he, in fact, owed you money and if the estate went to probate. I don't know. Did he own a house?
Yes.
Yes. Did he have children?
No, he left the house to me.
Okay. So he had an estate. Clearly, there's money in the estate because he left a house that has some value to someone else. So you cannot, Mr. Clun, resort to self-help. And Mr. Lukoski is going to show me the value of the gun that his...
Yes. May I expound just a bit on this gun?
I don't care about
the manufacturer.
I don't care about the gun. I don't care if it's a crown in my mouth. What's the value of the gun?
The value of the gun at the time that this man took possession of it.
Just give me an answer.
It was $3,000. It's gained in value.
Okay, well, who cares if it's gained in value, sir? I'd like you to show me where the gun is valued at $3,000. Did you look it up?
I did. I have it. It's listed from the same photo. I found the website listed for $2,500.
Okay. My law clerk found an ad online. Now you're going to show me what you want to show me, that the value is $3,000. Let me see it, please.
May I say something else about this gun?
Not until I look at this. I don't know what this is. Immediate checkout credit card. What is this?
Look at the very top, please.
I see what this is. I want to see what you paid for. This is something that's on sale, starting bid.
It's just a typical price of what they sell for on Gunbroker.
Okay. $2,500?
Yes.
Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I'm pleased at the outcome because the information needed to be exposed that there was something terribly wrong.
Somebody waits for 10 months and finds out his gun is missing.
To many different people, and no one had the same answer from him at any time.
Something's wrong.
I don't think he had a choice. There was the only way he was going to win his case because everything's based on mistruths.
I could not get my mind around the defendant. To have a friend since high school that you're best friends with, you remained good friends with, if one of my best friends came to me and told me, hi, I just need to borrow $2,500, I'm going to be a millionaire 2 months from now, I'd say, are you crazy? There's so many of these scams going around. I know I've seen your phone sometimes gets tripped up with the scammers and in the middle of the night ringing off the hook. It's unfortunate that people fall for these scams and really send their hard-earned money, sometimes that they don't have, to these scam artists, and they're never going to see it again. And I think that people have to be really vigilant. I know there's been warnings and things like that that I've seen more publicized recently about scams and just how detailed and intricate they can seem, but it's really just...
I get them all the time, as you said.
Yeah.
I have to go like this and then delete.
Delete.
Anton, please answer immediately. Your $3,000 refund is sitting here waiting for you.
Non-existent.
No, sometimes they leave out Anton. Your $3,000 refund is here.
Yeah, gotta be smart.
And, you know, Sarah, a couple of years ago, I don't know whether you remember, but I just thought about it. People were calling me and saying to me, Judy, I didn't know that you went into the cosmetics business.
Oh, yes, I do remember.
And the people who crafted the advertisement, you know, with all kinds of real logos on the top
reviews
of it. And reviews, and I
Mhm.
tried this stuff. And I remember being at the gym working out, and a woman came over to me and said, you know, I bought your cosmetics, and they were really terrible. And they keep sending them to me every month.
And probably charging her credit card.
Charging her credit card. And I tried every vehicle in the government to try to get somebody to
shut it down.
Track it down. And the answer was, they're so smart that they use international, you don't know where they could be. They could be in Peru, they could be in Chile, they could be in Brazil, they can be in Canada. And I know that there are many other celebrities who were caught with the same scam net. But this guy said, my friend Jim
was probably getting scammed. Then why would you provide him the money to get scammed?
You're absolutely right. Didn't believe me. No.
Nancy Kesselman is suing her son, Danny Horath, and his fiancée, Trinity Wilson, for living expenses, stolen property, and vet bills.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2049, Councilman versus Jorge Watson.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Horath, this is your mother.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is your girlfriend.
My fiance, yes.
Is she divorced?
She's widowed.
Since when?
June 6th.
Of what year?
2022.
Well, let me understand this. Prior to you being a widow, you were involved with Mr. Horath. Were you divorced?
I was going through a divorce.
Okay. And then he passed away.
Yes.
Mr. Horath, in 2013, you were incarcerated. How long?
5 years.
And you have 2 little girls.
Yes, ma'am.
When you were incarcerated, were the children living with you prior to being incarcerated?
Yes.
They were living with you?
Yes.
When you went to prison, was there any reason the children didn't go with their mother?
She left him with my mother.
So your mother obtained custody of your children 9 years ago?
Yes.
And raised them?
Yes.
You got out of prison when?
September 2017.
And when you got out of prison, your mother invited you to come and live in the house?
Yes.
In her house?
Yes, ma'am.
Who else lives in her house?
My grandmother.
Who I understand from these papers is suffering from
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's. So your mother was taking care of her mother and your 2 daughters?
Yes.
So your fiancée now, who looks as if she's expecting a child, was your mother's next door neighbor?
Yes.
And you became involved with her when?
End of October 2020, or 19, I'm sorry.
And when you became involved with her, you have 2 children?
Yes.
You invited her with your mother's permission to move in to your mother's house with her 2 children?
Yes, ma'am.
We did agree that she could move in and stay in the guest.
Had you been living in the house by yourself with the 2 girls?
Yes, I have.
How large a house is it?
It's pretty good, decent size. It was 1,980 square feet, now expanded out another 800 feet, so quite. 5 bedrooms, 3 baths.
How do you support yourself?
I own my own business. I'm a nurse. Due to the fact of taking care of my granddaughters and my parents at the time, I had to resign from Fort Irwin, working there because of couldn't commit to the hours. So because of that, I went ahead and got my own business of doing home infusions, and that started right before the pandemic. And so I work a lot.
Anybody help you take care, before they moved in, anybody help you take care of the girls and your mother?
No, it was me.
Now, what kind of work do you do?
I'm a truck driver.
And you?
Nursing student and mother.
So you don't work?
No.
How do you support yourself?
I was going to school and...
Well, supporting yourself doesn't go to school unless you were getting money for going to school. Were you getting money for going to school?
Yes.
From whom?
From financial aid.
How much?
Maybe like $800, $900 a month. And this was before I was living with Danny and Nancy.
And after you moved in with Danny and Nancy?
I was helping her take care of her mother, and her VA was paying me to take care of her.
She was getting the veterans aid and attendance. I gave her that extra money to help out with my mom and those expenses.
And then currently, I'm taking care of our young son we have together.
So you have a child together and expecting another one?
Yes.
So then you'll have 4 children, you, correct?
Yes.
And you will have 4 children.
I will have 4 children, yes.
Sounds as if your mother did some very nice things for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds as if Miss Castleman did some very nice things for you.
Yes.
Why do you think she's suing you?
Out of anger.
Mr. Horath, why would she be angry at either one of you?
Because we decided that we were going to go ahead off and do our own thing, and she was no longer included in being part of that.
Like what?
Well, being part of a family or a unit. Once my grandmother's health declined and she went to a facility, there was no more communication about anything that was going on around the house anymore.
I don't know what you mean by that. Your fiance's arrangement was that she was being paid by the VA to take care of your grandmother.
Yes.
And then your grandmother, according to you, had to go into a facility.
Yes.
Which means your fiance isn't getting any more payment from the VA.
Correct.
Now, you're working, you drive a truck.
Yes.
Were you contributing towards the running of the household?
Oh, of course. Yes.
How much?
Whatever needed to be paid.
No. Tell me what you paid.
I paid the Edison, half the Edison.
Well, that's not a set amount.
I
Do you
paid
understand?
$300 a month.
Well, that's an amount. So you paid $300 a month towards the Con Edison.
Yes, ma'am.
What else did you pay?
We paid for the trash.
How much was the trash?
$50 a month.
What else?
I paid for the food.
For who?
For our family.
Well, for all of you or just for you, your fiance, and the 4 children?
And my grandmother, yes. And my grandmother and Nancy, too.
Not for me.
Shh.
Speak. She would come over and have dinner with us quite often. And I would make her meals and send them to her.
What you're saying is, because I read when you said she would come over for dinner, there came a time when there were an awful lot of people living in the house, and your mother, because it was so crowded, moved into a trailer on the premises, and you moved into the master suite.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Say thank you, Mom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Now, did you pay for anything else that you're not telling me?
Yes, we paid for the internet.
Their internet.
Yes.
Shh. For your own internet?
Yes.
I'm talking about expenses for the house. I assume the mortgage was paid off. Is that what you wrote here?
Danny did pay for the property taxes.
Okay. Well, then that was my next question. Property taxes. Did you pay for any of that?
Yes.
How much did you pay?
It was $12.64 a year.
Anything else?
Remodeling expenses that we did to the home.
I know it was expanded, and it was expanded after you were there.
Yes.
Yes. And do you know how much the remodeling expenses were?
The additions were done before I came home, but everything else was added to when we were living there.
Like what?
The pellet stove had went out, so we bought a new one.
Oh, that's I'm not interested.
Okay.
I'm not interested in that. I'm talking about regular. So let me get to my trusty computer. We have $300 a month for Con Ed. So I don't even have to do that. I could do 1, 2, 6, 4. Everybody knows me now. I'm a little challenged with regard to these things. Divided by 12 equals $105 a month. And $300 a month for Con Ed and $50 for trash is $5. So you paid in total the expenses that you told me, $455 a month for living in a 5-bedroom house. I'm just setting the stage for this. You paid $455 a month for living in a 5-bedroom house, and your mother moved out to live in a trailer so that you could be in the master suite with your fiance, a new baby, and one on the way. Those are the objective facts that I have.
Okay.
Now, so I asked you, because your mother is suing for a lot of stuff, and I don't understand why somebody would take this approach when she was nothing but good to both of you. You screwed up your life. She got stuck raising your 2 children, working full-time, and taking care of a sick mother. You go to school, and you're a full-time mother, but that's very nice, but she's not your mother, she's not your grandmother, she's nobody to you. Mm-hmm. And she took you in and your 2 children. What do you think you did to make her so angry that she would sue you? I'm curious.
I honestly don't know.
Well, you started to tell me that you moved on because she ultimately gave you notice to leave.
We actually gave her notice we were leaving, and that's when all that started.
Okay. Did you also tell your mother that you wanted to buy the house?
Yes, I did.
From her?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, that started the trouble. And your mother's response was?
Of course. She said, okay.
And what happened?
I went and applied for a loan. They told me that I did not meet the criteria for the loan. I said, okay, that's fine. What about a rent-to-own option to buy? And she said, okay. We tried to get a real estate agent to go ahead and write out the contract. At that point in time, she wanted to move one of her nurses onto the property, into the trailer that she was living in. I did not feel comfortable with a stranger living on our property. I don't know them. I don't want them around my children. I don't know who they are. And if I'm going to be buying a home, I wouldn't want to.
You're not buying anything. You were renting.
With the option to buy. I want to buy the home, and then when I go back to apply for the loan in a year, I was going to buy the home.
Maybe, maybe not. Mr. Horath, so far, you see, you have somebody who has done all things to make your life, which you screwed up a little bit, more comfortable. Takes you in, takes your girls in, takes your girlfriend in, takes your girlfriend's kids in, allows you to have more latitude and more freedom by moving herself out of her own home, which is totally paid off, into a trailer so that you could be more comfortable. And she said, you want to buy the house? Fine. You couldn't get a loan. Well, could I rent to buy? She says, okay. But she's still a working person, as opposed to your fiancé. You ratified the gift by buying her something that could only be utilized with that machine. So I'm not interested in the machine. Could we move forward, please? I have 7 years of postgraduate education. I'm getting very tired of this case.
Nancy Castleman claims her son, Danny Horath, and his fiancée, Trinity Watson, owe for living expenses and stolen property. Danny and Trinity say they always paid their share of the bills.
Okay. Now, she's still a working person, and she said, I would like to move one of my nurses. She's not talking about moving in some sex offender into a trailer next to her grandchildren, who she's raised. So I wouldn't see what your problem is with that, but that's neither here nor there. So that started an acrimonious separation. I'm not going to rent the house because I'm not going to allow you to move somebody that I don't know. I'm not even going to meet them. Somebody that I don't know into the trailer. Where are you living now?
We have our own home now.
Where?
Because we didn't agree with, we didn't want to live with her nurse, so we went.
Just a second. I said the question is, where is your own home?
In Hellendale.
Is that where she lives?
Near.
How near?
10 miles up the road.
And when did you move there?
July 14th.
How big a house?
It's a 3-bedroom, 3-bath.
Who owns the house?
We're renting.
And how much are you paying in rent?
$2,500.
So you got a smaller house at 5 times what you were paying her. Is that what I'm hearing? You paid $455 monthly to your mother.
We also paid her van payment, but we
What?
also used the van. Her van payment, it was $900 a month.
Did you use the van?
Yes.
Oh, good. Good.
We used it to also take her mother to.
Did you use the van?
Yes.
For you and your children and his children?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. So I want to know if she's right down the road and she was good to you for a decade, why is she not included with your family anymore?
She chose not to be.
Really?
Yeah, she wants to work all the time. When we invite her to do things or family functions or church functions, she would never come.
Well, you say never. You just moved out a month ago.
This is prior to us moving out. We haven't talked to her since we moved.
You mean prior to you moving out, you would invite her?
Oh, yeah.
And what you said was, could you read that back? She's working all the time? Is that? I just want to know if that's what he said.
He said, yeah, she wants to work all the time. When we invite her to do things or church functions, she would never come.
Okay. Unpaid living expenses, electric bill. All right, let's get to the electric bill. He said he paid $300 a month. What does he owe for the electric bill and for what months?
I was on a level pay plan for every month, and it went up higher. The rates have increased for in the past year. So that was $900. It was $1,800, the bill that came out. So it actually increased over the last year, and I have copies of that. So I asked for them to pay half.
Did they ever pay the extra money?
No.
Okay. And they continue to live there?
That just came up in May, yes.
Okay, well, then I'm not interested in that. Go ahead.
And
what else? What other living expenses?
Well, the other electric bill, they were still there. They didn't pay for that one.
Which one?
The one from June to July.
Were you there in June, July?
Yes, ma'am. And I have evidence that I did pay.
Okay, I'd like to see it.
Paid 3, not the whole amount.
No, I did pay.
Just let me see that you paid it. June 19th, $600.
That was not for this electric bill. It was for...
No, that was for Edison.
It says Con Edison.
Yes.
There was another bill that still needed, it was like $723.
I don't care.
That he owed me
I
for
don't care. He paid $600 in June of 2022. You have vet bills here and personal items taken without permission. And the personal items taken without permission, you took some of her things. What did you take that didn't belong to you?
Nothing.
Well, you acknowledged that you did. You acknowledged that either you or your fiance took things that didn't belong to you. You said you returned them, but you took them.
They were packed by other family members that were helping us pack.
And? So they were taken without her permission?
Yes.
By your agents, by people who were helping you, so they were your agents. What was taken?
I guess there was a gun that
Not guess, I don't want to hear guess.
There was a gun that was packed.
Okay. Did you get the gun back?
I got the gun back next day.
It was returned, yes.
What else?
That's as far as I know.
What else was missing?
The ammo.
The ammunition for the gun.
I don't have any ammunition.
I wouldn't have a gun without ammo.
Well, go and look for it. What else?
KitchenAid machine.
What is that?
A KitchenAid for mixing and making. I bought that for my mom. They took that.
That was given to us by my grandmother because she can no longer bake, or actually given to her because she bakes.
And she even, for Mother's Day, Nancy brought, her and Granny, her mother, Nancy brought me the attachment. It makes pasta for the KitchenAid for Mother's Day. So she was aware that her mother gave me, when she moved to the facility, that she gave me the make.
Oh, she moved to a facility, she can't make a gift. If she's moving to a facility because she has Alzheimer's, she can't make a gift.
I have power of attorney over her.
Now, if what you're telling me is that you did take it and that the plaintiff sort of ratified that by buying you an attachment for it for Mother's Day, that I'll ask her about. Okay. Now, Ms. Castleman, listen to me very carefully. Did you buy Miss Watson around Mother's Day a pasta attachment for the KitchenAid?
Yes, ma'am, I did. For my mom. With my mom.
I don't...
Because they were supposed to be cooking together.
No. No. You bought an attachment for it, and if you buy an attachment, that was a gift, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you made the gift, you handed the gift to whom?
To Trinity.
Right. So even if your mother didn't have the mental capacity, you could have argued, to make a gift, and it was yours, you ratified the gift by buying her something that could only be utilized with that machine. So I'm not interested in the machine. Could we move forward, please? I have 7 years of postgraduate education. I'm getting very tired of this case.
Okay.
Anything else? Vet bill. Now we'll get to the vet bill. Okay. You had to go to the emergency room when and for what, Ms. Castleman?
I was having issues with my stomach. I was diagnosed with diverticulitis and had to go to the emergency.
I can imagine. When?
That was in June, beginning of June.
June of this year. Who took you to the emergency room?
I had to take an Uber. I couldn't drive.
Who was home?
Trinity and her family.
And her family. Mm-hmm. And when you went to the emergency room, where was the van?
The van was at the home.
Why didn't she take you to the emergency room?
She said she couldn't do that. She said that she was too busy and stressed out.
Is that right?
I was dealing, my children's father just passed away that day.
And I was there with
Just a second. You were separated from him. Why couldn't you take her to the emergency room?
Because my children just found out that their dad passed away. So I was dealing with their emotions.
Just a second. I'm just trying to figure out why you couldn't take her to the emergency room. You've been living with your mother for a while now, since you got out of jail. How many times has your mother been to the emergency room?
Quite a few.
How many?
More than 10 that I know of.
And did you take her to the emergency room since you've been home?
I have before, yes.
How many times did you take her?
2 to 3 times, at least.
When was the last time you took her?
Maybe a year ago.
And what was wrong then?
Her sciatic nerve.
Did you wait with her?
Yes, ma'am.
Good, because that's the right thing to do.
Yes.
Yeah. Excuse me a second.
Get it.
Don't write to me if you're a fly lover. I don't care. You did absolutely nothing wrong. If I looked up the word ungrateful in the dictionary, their pictures would be there.
Nancy Castleman has accused her son, Danny Horath, and his fiancée, Trinity Watson, of taking advantage of her kindness. Danny and Trinity claim Nancy became upset when they stopped doing her favors.
Well, Miss Watson, I know that you have an excuse. If it were me and I had been living off somebody else for years, I would have put my kids in the van and say, we have to take Grandma to the emergency room. That would just be me. And deal with my children in the van 5 minutes later.
And I would have if I wasn't dealing with my children at the time, and she was aware of that. I think she even took a Lyft or an Uber. She let me know it was okay.
I'm just telling you. I'm trying to get some sympathy going for the two of you. I'm not getting any sympathy going for the two of you. Did she ask you to watch her dog?
No, she, like normal, I have a dog too on the property, and it was a mutual agreement that anytime one of us were gone, we would always make sure the dog went out to use the restroom. But the day her dog had an injury, I wasn't home.
Where were you?
Gymnastics competition.
It just happened at night.
When was your dog injured?
On the day that I went to the ER. I asked her before, I said, I have to go, my lift is here, you know, and can you feed my dogs? And because they're in their trailer still, and Molly's still on the bed, and I didn't want her jumping down, and can you take them out? I don't know when I'll be back. The Uber was there, or the Lyft was there, and I left. And then when I came back home, it was about 5:30 in the morning. I noticed the dogs were in there, and that Asher was cut up. He had big old laceration.
Did you know what happened? Could you figure out what happened?
No, I think I know now they probably it was probably under their trailer while he was out, because she did say that she took him out, but she forgot to feed them, and she was home.
That night I was home, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you see her dog injured?
No.
Did you feed her dog that day?
No, I did forget to feed the dogs. I took her small dog, Tamale, off the bed, and I had them go out, and then I put them right back in, and I went back on to the house.
And you forgot to feed them?
Yes, I did.
Okay. But when you went in there, the dog was not injured?
No, he was not.
Okay. The last part of this, and then I'm actually finished. Money owed for unpaid living expenses. Anything other than what we have discussed?
They're supposed to pay rent.
Starting when?
It was supposed to initially have been in November for January of 2022, because since my mom had to go, you know, away because she couldn't take care of her anymore, you know, I had to do what I have to do.
You mean after she stopped watching your mother?
Mm-hmm. That's when I mostly enforced it. But there are text messages that they agreed to pay.
I'd like to see them.
Okay.
I understand, Mr. Horath and Miss Watson, that the agreement was that you would live there paying certain expenses but not rent, as long as you, Miss Watson, and or Mr. Horath, when you were home, would take care of her mother so that she could work.
Yes.
Yes.
And that stopped at a particular point.
Yes, in May.
That stopped in May.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it does seem that there were arguments back and forth about these expenses, but never wholly an understanding that that was going to happen.
Your Honor, I had several conversations with my son while he was truck driving. He didn't really talk to her particularly, because I think she had a lot of influence on that. He would have done the
Whether
right
he did or whether he did, this comes from Danny himself. He says, okay, check this out. I'll call the state inspectors for the septic room additions in the bathroom that needs permits first.
She did.
Just a second. What kind of thing is that? How many times have you been married?
2.
And how old are you?
37.
How many times have you been married?
2.
And how old are you?
28.
And that's 2 in addition to this current engagement.
No, then it would just be 1.
And you?
Just 1.
Well, then you're not married, so you've each been married once before.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want you to look at your mother. Maybe in the next couple of years, maybe, she will be here, and maybe she won't. I'm sure when you married the first time, you expected that to be forever because you made a couple of children, right?
Yes.
I hope you'll be able to see that face for a very long time, but she had another husband before you. You're only going to have one mother. And your mother was really good to you and really good to a stranger and her children. And she didn't invite them in and say, well, I'm going to apply for some assistance because now, no. She worked all the time. According to you, she chose to work. She chose to work all the time instead of going to church with you. You have no idea how ridiculous that sounds. You have no idea how ridiculous it sounds to me that Miss Watson says to me, I have children. I can't work. Well, she had 2 children, yours. And she worked and had your 2 children that she had to take care of. And she's much older than Miss Watson. Do you understand? Yes. If you have a work ethic, you have a work ethic. If you don't have a work ethic, you don't have a work ethic. But right now, she took care of you since you got out of jail. That's a long time. And for you to cut her off from yourself and her grandchildren is pretty outrageous to me. But you're 37 years old, and you have 4 children. Now 6, because they don't have a father anymore, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I don't know what you were doing with all your extra money, but to your mother, you were paying $400 a month for a 5-bedroom house, and now you're paying $2,500 a month rent in a 3-bedroom house, and I assume that that's plus trash, Con Edison, and internet, and everything else that goes along with the house. So I don't know who's paying for that, unless you were just stashing away money. I don't know. I doubt it. I don't even want to go into it. Anyway, Miss Castleman, it's not worth it. You did the right thing with him. You took him in. You did absolutely nothing wrong. But you didn't have a contract with him. And you didn't have a contract with her. And I can't enforce giving you money when there was no enforceable contract. But if I looked up the word ungrateful in the dictionary, their pictures would be there. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I'm grateful for the things that she did say so they can understand where I'm coming from.
She has no control. She gets upset and wants to see revenge in any way she can.
Those words are not from him. I know my son.
We had a good relationship before all of this transpired.
They don't get it.
Well, I hope that we can all eventually get back to that point for the sake of the kids.
You know, I don't think that there's a legal lesson there to learn, Sarah.
I know, it's just so unfortunate because I feel for the plaintiff. As a grandmother, as a mother, you try and do the right thing, and just to feel so taken advantage of. And I didn't hear a good reason. I was waiting the whole time to hear a good reason for why she was this terrible person that they had to move away from, but it never came.
Well, the only thing that I came up with was that she agreed to let them rent the house, rent to buy.
Yes.
Because they couldn't buy the house. They didn't have sufficient funds. But there was a condition. Now, she was living in a trailer on the property. She said, I want to be able to move somebody in there because I'm going to have to find another place to live, and I'm going to need money. If I sold the house, I would have some money.
And I'm sure to pay for her mother in care costs money as well.
She's a hardworking lady. She had 2 little kids that she had to take care of, in addition to a sick mother, in addition to working full-time.
A lot of stress.
While this one is in prison and the girlfriend is going to school.
No legal lesson, but hopefully they work it out.
Hopefully. Be too bad if they didn't.
Yeah.
Are you having a family dispute? Go to Judy Justice. Cassandra Duenas is suing exotic pet store owner Brian Chow for money from a snake breeding business.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case number 212, Duenas versus Cho.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Duenas, it looks to me from your papers that you decided to go into a business with someone.
Yes.
With whom?
With the defendant, Brian Chow.
And you know him how?
He's a family friend.
And you know what his business is?
Yes.
What is his business?
He currently sells reticulated pythons, snakes, exotic animals, monitors, lizards.
And you like those things?
My ex-boyfriend did.
Did you?
I was more for the investment part.
Okay.
I was the investor at the time.
At the time you reached out to this family friend who was in the exotic snake business, your idea was to create a business.
No, Your Honor. It was actually the defendant's idea.
I don't care whose idea it was. Your idea was to create a business with your ex-boyfriend.
I agreed to the business, but it wasn't our idea.
Whether you agreed to the business or not, you invested money in the business.
Yes.
which means that unless there's something wrong with you, and I see that there is not, you wanted to go into business with the defendant.
Yes.
So let's be easy.
Okay.
And at the time that you wanted to go into business with the defendant, I'll get to what the nature of that business was in a second. I know it had something to do with that wonderful-looking snake. You had a boyfriend.
Yes.
And the boyfriend liked snakes.
Yes.
And you went along with the ride.
Yes.
What month and year were you still with the boyfriend when you decided to go into the business, which you will explain to me?
Back in November of 2019.
So right before COVID.
Yes.
What was your boyfriend doing at the time?
He was working at an airport.
And he and Mr. Cho were friends?
Yes.
How long had you known him?
2-3 weeks, Your Honor.
Where did you meet him?
He came into my store and acquired
I didn't ask anything. That's how you met him?
Yes.
I'm going to get through this case and get this lovely thing out of the courtroom as quickly as I possibly can. Wow. Some people find them exotic and gorgeous. I find them a little bit squirmy. So in November 2019, boyfriend and you decided to go into the business. Explain the business that you invested in.
I invested on 5 reticulated pythons, 1 male and 4 females. That was the original deal.
And what were you going to do with them?
Mr. Brian Chow was going to have it in his shop, and together we were going to breed them and make a profit out of them.
So the intention was never for you to take these pythons to your residence?
No.
And you understood that? No.
They're buying the snake, Your Honor.
Okay. How much were the 5 snakes?
In total, it was $10,000, plus the feeding and the cages that he claimed that the snakes needed.
Was it your agreement that for $10,000, Miss Duenas and the boyfriend were going to buy 1 male snake and 4 females?
They decided to buy 2 snakes.
Well, when was that decision made, sir?
A week after I met him, because
When you went into the shop, did you ultimately decide on 1 male, 1 female?
No, so how it is, Your Honor, is he knew my ex-boyfriend prior to the business 5 years ago. He sold him a exotic Australian monitor lizard.
Okay, what I want you to tell me is, did there come a time when the arrangement changed, so instead of 1 male and 4 females, you were supposed to get 1 male and 1 female?
No, Your Honor. The whole way it was supposed to be 1 male and 4 females.
Do you have any sort of a receipt for that?
We have Instagram conversations.
Do you have that?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it.
Okay.
One male, 4 females. The guy's asking $15,000 for all, and then he says, I'll drop it to 12. Then somebody, I don't have 12 now. I just spent a lot on my monitor. Let's go the rest. Okay, so he said, I don't have that money now. He says, I'm getting 16 lace monitors. You remember that discussion? And then that's a big investment for me right now. I'm saving up to get a house, but I'm down to breed my monitor with any of your monitors. Keep going. So far, I don't have a contract. And then somebody says, no, you pay half and I pay half. Who wrote that?
He did.
No, you pay half and I pay half. Then you say $6,000. I'm short $6,000. I want to get them, but I'm low on cash till next month. And that's from you. That's from the reptile.
I have to see it, Your Honor.
Okay. If I invest half with you, what will be my return and in how long? Think about it. That's will be the baby's mix price. JTK Reptiles, that's you. Somebody's on their way. That's you and your boyfriend?
Yes. We were on our way to give him the money.
And how much money were you going to give him?
We gave him the first time $6,000 and then $4,000, a total of $10,000.
You received that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what did you purchase with the $10,000?
If you look at the message from there, what she showed you is they pay half of the 5 snake. Means they get 2 of the snake, and I get 2 of the snake. They've been lying to you guys since day one. They want to purchase 2 snake. Then I told them, like, if you look at the message, I can use my male to breed it to your female. It's an investment for you guys, not for us. It's no us. It's not with them at all.
Mr. Cho, were they supposed to take possession of the snakes?
They're supposed to pick up the snake. That's why they come to the store with it.
Which snakes were they supposed to take possession of?
One right here and one out there.
Is that a male or a female?
This is the female.
Has she had babies yet?
No, I don't breed her because she don't belong to me.
And how old is she?
Right now, she should be about 6 years old, going 7.
How long do they live?
Over 30 to 40 years, depends on how you take care of them, like I take care of them.
And there's another one outside the courtroom that's the same as this one. Also a female?
Yes.
And you gave them the $10,000. He acknowledges the $10,000. So we have a verbal contract that you were going to pay for some snakes. He was going to order the snakes for you, which he did. And that was accomplished, and the payment for the snakes was done on what date, the first payment?
Approximately in November of 2019.
And when was the next $4,000 payment?
The same month, I would say like a week.
Good. And when did you order the snakes, Mr. Chow?
Right after I get yeah, because I cannot just acquire the animal without the payment.
Okay, so now you've got the payment and you order the animals.
Yes.
On what date do they arrive?
2 days after, they're FedEx delivered to my shop.
And when did you notify the plaintiff that they were there?
The day that they came, I tell them the snake is
So it was also in November, sometime in November. And when did they arrive?
The snake arrived?
No, the plaintiff and the boyfriend.
They arrived a week after I notify the boyfriend.
Okay. Now, Ms. Duenas, a week later you went to the shop. And what happened when you went to the shop? Now he's got $10,000 and he's got 2 snakes.
I just want to clarify, Your Honor, that we even gave him money for the tanks because here in the conversations it says that he can't continue having them in tubs. So he needs us to give him money to invest to buy the tanks to house the snakes. So our original plan was for him to keep the snakes because he has the shop. We, at the time, lived in an apartment. He was well aware of this, that we couldn't have big snakes in our apartment.
He says no, you say yes. I'm not sure how I can resolve that. I'm trying to simplify this contract.
Cassandra Duenas claims exotic pet store owner Brian Chow owes her money for a snake breeding business. Brian says Cassandra changed her mind about the business after he purchased the snakes.
Okay, part of the contract was fulfilled because you paid him. Then he ordered the snakes. Second part was fulfilled. I want you to tell me what happened when you went to see the snakes. You say to see them. He says to pick them up a week later.
So when we went to the shop,
Who went?
led us to
Who went?
My ex-boyfriend and I. What led us to there is because after he obtained the snakes, he was not reaching out back to us. He was
just a week later.
Yes.
You went to the shop. He notified you that the snakes were there. There's no question about that. Now, you went to the shop for what purpose?
Because he switched it and then he said it was 2 snakes when originally the plan was 1 male and 4 females. That 1 male was going to breed with the 4. So right out the back, he lied to us what our agreement was here, that he clearly texted us and said 4 males and 1 female. So it was 5 snakes. So we went to the shop.
Yeah, but there was a problem there with pricing in the Instagram messages, a suggestion, because some of the texts were unavailable. He said originally they were $15,000. And then there was some discussion of $12,000. And then there was some discussion of $6,000. He says he'll pay half and you pay half. And there, I can imagine that there was some sort of an agreement for you to keep the snakes if you were going to pay half. You were always supposed to give them the snakes. Why would you pay half?
Then they get the 2 of the snake, and I get the 2 of the other snake. It's 5 of them. And the one that we're gonna pretty much, they can have it if they want it, or I can use it when I need it.
You mean the male?
Yes.
So that was the business. Anyway, you went there, and what happened?
So I went in recording. My ex-boyfriend told me, hey, record.
Don't tell me what your ex-boyfriend told you.
Okay.
Just tell me you went in and what happened.
We went in there and we asked him, hey, we agreed on 5 snakes. Now you switched up and you said now it's 2 snakes. First you told us it was $15,000, then $12,000. You were playing games with us the whole time. And at this point, after a week later that he said that he got the snakes, then he told us it was 2 snakes. At that point, we were upset because we had planned and we had counted with 5 snakes. That's why we gave him that ridiculous amount of money. And basically, we didn't want nothing else to do with him. We wanted our money back. And that's what we went for, our money back.
Just a second. Yes. So you walked in wanting your money back?
Yes.
Do you have any text messages, Instagram messages, suggesting that before you got there, you had said to him, we changed our mind, we don't want to be in business with you, we want our money back?
No.
Nothing?
No. He wasn't reaching out, sorry, Your Honor, he wasn't reaching out to us. He was sending him video calls, he was calling him through text message, my ex-boyfriend.
I don't care. You paid the money, he got snakes. The question is, you think there's supposed to be more than 2? He says 2. More were more money. So the ultimate agreement was for 2. So what happened when you went there? You're there with your boyfriend.
Yes.
And you say, I want my money back. And he says?
He says, I don't have the money here. I have 2 snakes here.
Are you telling me that he didn't call you and say your snakes are in? Is that what you're suggesting? Do you have an invoice for these snakes, Mr. Chow?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd like to see the invoice for the snakes. By the way, your boyfriend has other of these exotic creatures. Is that right?
To the people that I get them.
What kind of exotic creatures does he have?
One that he sold him, an Australian water monitor from the Philippines.
And?
He has 2 rhino iguanas, a pair. He has a, I don't know the name, but it changes colors.
Mr. Chow?
Yes.
This is a wire transfer May 24th, 2018. And the date of this wire transfer is August of 2018.
And those are for the lace monitor that
Are these lace monitors?
Yes.
Sorry, Your Honor, these are not lace monitors. These are reticulated pythons. These are not monitors. Monitors are lizards. These are snakes.
Lace monitor bell face.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, that's not that.
No, Your Honor.
Well, these are useless.
Yes, but that's connected to the rest of what they did.
What does it have to do with these 2 snakes? What I want to see is when you purchased these 2 snakes.
Yeah, I don't have it, Your Honor.
Well, get it. What do you mean you don't have it?
I left it at home. I'm so sorry.
Well, what'd you bring these for?
Those are the time that they both got arrested when they went to my shop.
Yeah, but you now have those back, right?
Yes.
You have those back. So if you had to take documents, why didn't you take the documents for the snakes in question? The lace monitor lizards aren't in question. You have them back. They may have taken them. They were arrested and you finally got them back. So I don't understand that.
I just mistaken grabbed the wrong paper.
Well, Mr. Chow, do you deal with these people regularly, that you buy snakes from them regularly?
Not really. It depends on the size of the animal and depends what kind of animal.
Well, you have the date of purchase someplace, Mr. Chow, and I don't want you to waste my time.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. That's why I just said I don't have it, Your Honor.
Did they purchase that kind of snake?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that correct?
It was 5 snakes, Your Honor.
Don't give me 5. That type of snake.
Oh, yes, the reticulated python, yes.
And the one that's outside is the same, correct?
Yes.
And you did not purchase baby snakes.
No.
You wanted full-grown snakes because they were a business. You wanted them able to be... breeding. Okay. Should have brought the paperwork. And you went in there that day in November because you had changed your mind.
Yes, and on top... Yes.
Because you had changed your mind.
Yes.
That's the answer. You had changed your mind. You can give me a whole bunch of excuses, and you told him you changed your mind, you want your money back. And he said no, because I ordered the snakes, and I got them in, and they're yours. Contract is completed. I'm merely holding your property. And then there was a kerfuffle. And tell me about the kerfuffle.
The issue was that it was going back to what I was saying is, then we asked him as well, can we have like receipt? How much did you really pay for them?
No, that's not your business. That's not your business, how much you really paid for them. He made a deal, you paid him. If he got them for $2,000 and you paid him $10,000, that's nothing. The kerfuffle, let's draw this down to its most simple English. You wanted your money back, and you wanted to cancel this contract.
Yes, it's just when we arrived, those weren't the snakes that we ordered. These were the breed of it, is the ones that he was putting here on Instagram, which I have, which is not those. So we ordered something and we got something else. So
is what you're telling me, you went there to pick up your, because now it's changed. You went there to pick up your snakes. When you got there, they turned out to be a different...
It's breed. It's like the...
Pythons, right?
Yes.
They're pythons, but it was a different kind of python. Now you're telling me because it was a different python, you wanted your money back.
Yes, because it wasn't what we paid for. It's like we paid for a Ferrari and we got a Toyota, basically. It's basically
You know nothing about pythons, so you're taking your cues from your boyfriend because that's his strong suit. Is it yours as well?
No, I'm just the investor.
Right. So your boyfriend had a conversation with him and said, those aren't the snakes that I ordered.
Yes.
Okay. And I want my money back.
Yes.
And you said you recorded all this.
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Exotic pet store owner Brian Chow of wrongfully keeping money for a snake breeding business. Brian says he fulfilled their agreement and claims Cassandra stole property from his store.
And you said you recorded all this.
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Okay. You just press play.
Which one?
Oh, right here. And then you press that.
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
You guys just want to do the money back.
Yeah. The 10,180 in total, and then money on top of that for lending you the money and everything.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, because we didn't see this coming. You just kept on giving us a runaround and a runaround.
Oh, no, what?
About the mail. Remember that?
No, that's why I'm waiting for the mail to be delivered. I don't have the mail.
Yeah, but remember you had told us that the guy had it because he had to leave and he had to gut out because he has surgery and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We gave you the money right there and then. You don't understand what mission we had to go
I
through.
didn't know. I don't mind getting you guys your money back, but I don't have cash right now. You guys caught me by surprise.
Yeah, but we're gonna have to do it today though. Like we need our money today.
If you want it right now, I don't have it.
We told you we want to do business correct, and you just keep on giving us another day and another day.
You told us as soon as we give you the money, the snake was gonna be here.
Yeah, it's not about me, it's the guy. It's not me. I'm just buying the snake from a different guy.
And then another thing where you messed up, you said 5 snakes for 6,000, and you come at me with 4 and you wasted my money.
Yeah, and I told you that he gave me only 4 snakes, the big giant.
Yeah, and why would you waste money if I told you to get the 5 snakes?
If you worry about the last one, I can pay for it. It's a mail that we don't need.
But I have to do all this, so I have to get like this for you to do that?
No, bro.
How can I trust you now?
Bro, the 4 snake is right here.
I'm gonna go get something.
What's wrong with you, bro? I'm just asking you. Let's talk.
No, we're not gonna talk. I told you don't with me.
I don't talk with you, bro.
Dog.
Why? What's
That's
wrong?
Because we gave you a lot of money. We're talking about over $10,000, and you're just giving us the runaround. First, you told us 5 snakes.
This is what we can do. I'll take it. And when you get the money, I'll give it back. Yeah, female too.
Oh, no.
Oh, no? All right, well.
Come on, bro. You're looking at a 15 grand.
I told you don't play with me.
I don't play with you.
You don't even have the money right now.
Open them up, man.
I got the half of the money.
Open them up.
I'm trying to talk to you, bro.
No, there's no more talking because we gave you the money right here and then. That's unprofessional. You're trying to scam us, and you don't do that to people like that.
I didn't. How did I scam you?
Before I open it.
You're telling me that you don't have the money.
I have half of the money because I'm waiting for the snake. Bro, if you guys gonna get arrested.
There's no arrested. We're just getting what you took from us. Over $10,000.
I'm trying to talk
Over
to you.
$10,000.
I'm trying to
No, we try to talk to you. You're telling us you're gonna have the money. I have everything in video.
I don't care. You can record me, bro.
Alright, so are you gonna
You don't play with people's money. You can call whoever you want.
$15,000.
This is 15 grand.
We don't care.
Can you call a cop, please?
No. Alright, watch out. Back away. I told you, don't play with my money.
What are you doing?
What do you mean? He owes me money.
I don't care. Get out. 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 Get out.
Let them alone.
He owes us money. He owes us money. He owes us money.
They're gonna deal with it. With the police.
Now I'll play that video, please. That's your boyfriend breaking into the...
Yes.
Yes. And when he broke the glass and took out whatever lizards he took out with him, where did he take them? You were still with him?
Yes, he put it in a bin.
And is that you carrying them out?
Yes, and that's the reason why I was charged with the robbery, just because I walked out with the item.
That's all right. That's fine. That's a co-conspirator. Ultimately, the lizards that you took were returned to you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And it seems, Mr. Chow, at the beginning of this case, I must acknowledge to you that I was sympathetic to your position, that they had ordered snakes. You ordered them, you got them.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then the contract is completed. Uncross your arms.
No, I'm so sorry.
But it's clear from the tape that the plaintiff played for me that you acknowledged that you did not fulfill your end of the contract, that you were blaming your inability to fulfill your end of the contract on some third party. Is that what I heard in the tape? I mean, you know, my hearing's not really acute, but that's what you said. I have no control. I can give you back half your money, but I can't give you back all your money. So the contract was not complete.
It was complete because they supposed to get only 2 snakes.
I didn't see anywhere where it says just 2 snakes. There was a whole bunch of conversation there about the male snake, and you were supposed to deliver to them the male snake. And you said, I don't have that money now, but I can get that money for you. I can give you the first money. I don't have the second money. It was clear that the contract was not complete unless you have something to show me that it was. But what I heard, it was not. That doesn't mean that Ms. Duenas has the right to break your property and to steal property that belongs to you. What they do is they come into a court and say, you have my money. The contract was not fulfilled. I want my money back. That's what you do. Are you in the business of breeding snakes for your store?
Yes, Your Honor.
And if we were to go on the internet now,
Yes, Your Honor.
how much would one of those snakes, which is 6 or 7 years old, according to you, sell for?
Right now, this size, you're looking at it about 6,000 to 7,000 each one.
But if you trolled the internet of people who actually like those creatures in their house, for whatever reason, if you put up that snake on the internet for sale, how fast would it take you to sell it?
I'd say like about a month and a half.
They're rare.
Yes.
Is that right? That's what you're saying.
It's rare and is just not a lot of people will acquire that much money.
Even though they can sell the babies. And how many babies do they have?
In a year, they can do from 30 to 50.
And each one of the 30 to 50, you can sell for $3,500.
Yes.
I suggest you do that. She gets her $10,000 back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. We're finished. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I'm very happy, and I'm happy that she was able to see herself that the defendant got caught multiple lies.
They're just a customer.
He wasn't truthful since the beginning. Ever since we invested.
They bought a snake. I just want to give their snake, but they don't want to take it.
And it's very sad how nowadays you can't trust in anybody.
I think one great lesson that a lot of people can take away from that is you have to know the business that you're investing in. I can appreciate she was sort of doing it for her boyfriend and he had the knowledge about the exotic animals, but that's her money at the end of the day. And if you're going to put your own hard-earned money on the line, it should be a business that you at least put in the time to learn about.
Understand.
Exactly. So that you don't have to rely on somebody else to make the right decisions.
Who's going to be gone tomorrow?
Exactly. Exactly.
And your money
who potentially could, and then you're left on your own, having to sue and navigate a field that you really know nothing about.
Smart. And it was also an example of a contract that was not fully executed. I actually thought when I started the case that there was an offer, an acceptance, you performed, paid the money, got the snakes, and then you can't change your mind. Once you get it, you say, well, I changed my mind, but that's not what happened.
Nope.
And her video demonstrated that that's not what happened because Mr. Chow started to waft. Well, it's not my fault I don't have your mail. It's another guy, and I would give it to you, but I can't give it to you as soon as I get it, you know. So he did not deliver on the contract. So I had very little compulsion other than to say,